arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Trying to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, can I describe it? Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face, and I ain't always been the smartest. But I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people. I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson. I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. I guess so lit, I guess so bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve. Even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 2025 with Sports Nonsense and Whiskey. We're so excited to be back. So many things to discuss. So many things have happened in the last couple of weeks where we took some time off. Back with the fellas. How we doing? Robert, Pinky. Cheers, my boys.
Yeah, buddy. I had to take a break Monday. I didn't have a drink yesterday. Maybe that's a lie. You know, I had a Dos Equis. I had a beer, but I only had one. There's only one, guys. I had to recover from Sunday, man.
Okay.
I'm having a glass of wine. I can't do heavy stuff right now. I'm still recovering from last week and getting back to normal appetite again.
Might have to.
It's all right, guys. I got us covered. Don't worry about it.
Sports Nonsense can wine? No, it's whiskey.
I mean, it's whatever drink
Any
you want to
beverage.
have. We've been over this, Pinky. You drink tequila and everything else under the sun, and you're giving him crap about having some
With whiskey. With whiskey. I have whiskey with me.
Yeah, okay.
I have a Dos Equis with me. I'm just drinking.
Just saying. Man's drinking something a little more sophisticated.
it's not like
you're going to give him shit for it. You watch your
That's
tone.
what I'm saying.
In the
Wine
old
is delicious. It is delicious.
In the old days, we would have definitely given him a good flick when we would sit across the table from each
Just
other.
because I have a little more class than you.
I mean, I wouldn't have, but I've been drinking wine since I was like 8 because I'm Catholic. So I'm a big red wine guy.
And again, it's just because I have a little more class than Pinky. I like to enjoy my liquor. Like, it's fine.
Look, I'm going old school. I'm sick, and I had some
Gotta do
tea,
grandpa's medicine.
and I'm gonna do Dad and Grandpa's remedy with a little whiskey and fall asleep this evening. I think it's perfect plan after some sports nonsense discussion.
Heck yeah.
Well, Caleb,
Stick with us, people. You'll learn some new remedies as well. A little honey, some lemon goes a long way as well. Let me just throw that out there.
I am so excited that you went out on vacation, giving Robert and I time to get together and do a Lord of the Rings marathon at your house without you.
Yeah, that was good.
That was fun. That is an endurance test. I think I took a winker like 5 minutes midway through the first movie, but I made it through the second too. Robert took a lot of winkers. He was sick that day.
I was sick, so. And I've watched the extended edition.
I was gonna say he's probably got it memorized where he could wake up.
I know
and be
exactly
like,
what
Did
I
you catch
missed.
that?
I'm like, okay, I
Did you
missed like
catch
15 minutes.
that little part that he just said was a big deal? You want to rewind? You need to know what that was.
Yep.
So we had a lot of fun. I hope you had a great time in Arizona visiting family. We missed you, but appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the fact that you guys were able to watch the house for me and the pups. That goes a long way as well. So thank you for that. Yeah, good trip. Heading back down there in a month for the sister's wedding. So that should be fun.
Nice. Okay.
That should be a good party. Other than that, not
yeah, dude, we've got a stacked show, so we can get rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I don't started Lord of the Rings. You guys should be happy. Watch the first episode. So we're rolling through that. Finished The Boys. Okay. We're actually starting to move through some things. So I might actually be able to.
Commandos is next.
I'll watch that on my own. That's already. I think I'm gonna start that tomorrow. Actually, I've already.
Finale starts is on Thursday. So.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking into that for myself actually. So, yeah, I might actually be able to discuss some things with you guys here shortly. And then we can go from there.
All right. Well, let's introduce our guest, our buddy, my favorite wrestling fan. He's the coolest guy. Oh, and he knows old school D. Let's bring him on. It's our boy Ron Young.
That's right. Let's go.
Cheers, sir.
Cheers. I haven't washed my cups from the game Sunday, so I gotta get those. Do not put those in the dishwasher. They will melt.
They will melt. That's for sure. Sure.
I had to tell my kids, like, hey guys, these are special cups. Don't put them in the dishwasher. The last one's just they just folded in on each.
Yikes.
They might look cool, but they cheap as shit.
Yeah, they're cheap as hell, but they're fun. They're fun. And I got a double on them, so we'll talk about that. Ron, thank you for joining us, and we're so glad to have you as we can talk some more wrestling. We had just an epic moment last night with Raw coming to Netflix.
One of the biggest pinnacle moments in professional wrestling history to have it all across the world at the same time. Incredible.
I mean, you know what's wild is I knew that, but I didn't really, for whatever reason, actually really comprehend it until Cena started talking about it. And he was the third or fourth person to really mention it.
Right.
And that's when I was really thinking about it no, wait, shit, this is live around the world right now for anyone to tune into and watch. That's crazy because anytime before that, you're talking USA Network, and then you got to, buy the rights from the foreign companies and be able to rebroadcast it at your given time slot and whatnot, which is a completely different feel because in today's modern age, if you really want to know what happened, you could be following along live or look it up the next morning when you wake up before it ever aired again in your country. And so this was a different level of entertainment. And when Cena said something along the lines of the historical aspect for sports and entertainment, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but the way he said it, I was like, oh shit, this is like boxing. This is like a global Olympics, World Cup, but they're going to be doing this every Monday night, which is nothing like that has ever happened before. So that is crazy to think about the doors that this alone. Laugh at it all you want. If you're not a fan, you're not a fan. We've talked about why you should be, but if you don't want to be, fine. But understand the historical significance of what they're doing right now through the streaming network and what that could mean for all other sports and entertainment going forward. So pretty cool in that sense.
Oh, it's groundbreaking. And, this comes back to Ron and I are a little bit older than, you, Caleb, you're pretty close, but way older than Robert. If you missed Raw, you missed it,
right,
in the past.
Right.
I mean, if you had the AOL dial-up, you could crank it up and you could get on some pages if you were really trying. But other than that, you missed it and you caught whatever happened next week. You just didn't.
No, you didn't even. So I'll go back to the Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. in the morning, right? You missed Saturday morning. You would never know what happened the week before unless they gave it to you on replay, which they didn't start until Hogan had been champion for a couple of weeks or so. They didn't recap like that. It was weird time back then. We have it easy now to follow along with the story because they keep it perpetuated now.
Yeah, much easier. I remember I was, for a while, I was doing Monday Night Nitro instead of Raw. And I was a big WCW guy. And I just remember hey, well, what's going on with Raw? And it was hard to really get what was happening over on WWE at the same time. So to have literally, if you miss it, you come home later, you can pop it on, or you get up the next day and you can turn it on, you can watch it like it's there. You can replay it as much as you want. You don't have to wait. It's awesome. It's awesome. And to have, Triple H come out and talk about that, The Rock come out and talk about that, and then Cena kind of put the stamp on it at the end, that, hey, it's global, and now they can reach so many more wrestling fans. And this is really exciting moment. What well, let me ask, what stood out to you, Ron, from the Rock?
Hold up. We should do this differently because there's so much to unpack. We should just start from the top. Just kind of start with the cold opening and break our way through the entire first episode, because otherwise I feel like we're either going to get stuck on something and forget a bunch, or we're going to skip over too many things and kind of gloss over them. So I think give it its due, kind of go through it with the cold opening start, which I thought was pretty awesome. I will give credit to that cold opening. I liked the way it was done.
That was pretty fantastic. Just the run through of all the different people. There's people that you remember, but seeing them spotlit in the way that they were, it just made the moments really special.
With them doing kind of the painting artistic stuff in between the cutscenes. And it was just, I like the way it was laid out to kind of bring in, because this isn't like a one-time event. It's not a Rumble. It's not a any type of pay-per-view event, if you will. This is every Monday night. And it's not like they were gone for a while and they're coming back all of a sudden. So you're not restarting. There's not a rebirth or anything. You're continuing all the same storylines and stuff. So the fact that they did it in such a way that kind of paid homage to the past and showed how they're going to continue moving forward, but it was never like an homage or like this tribute or anything at the same time, I thought is what helped it move the show forward to start.
Agreed. So a couple things. So then Triple H came out underneath the tent or whatever they had around the ring, and then he came out to do his thing. And the audience in LA was really dead. And we could talk about throughout the whole entire night how they were dead. But to start off the night, it was like Triple H was really trying to empower them to like get into it because it's a big moment. And I want to show everybody on Netflix that this is huge. It's like, come on, guys, are you ready? Yeah, that kind of thing.
I get why they did the first one in LA, but at the same, especially the Intuit Dome. I mean, that is the most modern arena in all of America right now. It is a badass arena. If you don't know about the Intuit Dome, go check it out because there's some cool stuff going on there. Brand new LA Clippers, Steve Ballmer. That's what that's for. So I get why you pick it, but I think you also do the true fan a disservice by having that in LA, because those tickets are going to go to the casual, the bandwagon, I just want to be at an event type person, and your true fan is not going to be the one getting a ticket to that night. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like the Super Bowl. A lot of times the Super Bowl is a dead crowd because the people that can afford the tickets aren't really there because they're fans. They're there because they can afford the ticket.
Unless you're Pinky.
Hey, whoa.
So
there were a lot of people on their phones, and I'm sure that's what happened last night too, is there's more people kind of playing on their phones than that are really living in the moment, like understanding what they're at.
I know we'll get to it, but a quick example, like you said, Ron, crowd being dead, and we'll discuss it as we go forward, but something to just keep in mind because it was one of the last matches. But when that crowd should have been yeeting, there was not a bounce and wave that you normally see when that goes down in an arena.
More like, am I supposed to do this hand or not these together?
And it was like just the people kind of right next to them, not as the further away you got, the less of the crowd was doing it. Like the arena just wasn't, like they didn't understand because they weren't true following fans.
There were a lot of people there last night that have never been to an event like that and not really involved. Like Kay Adams, I love Kay Adams. She's great. Her football show is really great. She has great guests. She was there. She was tweeting all night. She was posting videos. She had no idea about wrestling in the event. And she had an amazing time.
it could have made a lot of fans last night. You know, that's the other thing. If you get a lot of people who are bandwagon or casual, and then you go to an event live, sometimes you just don't know what to do, so you are quiet and you're just kind of taking it all in, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, you're almost overwhelmed. And
I had to tell my daughter she needed to calm down. I was tired of hearing her boo everybody.
So it can go both ways, but you know, LA, the other one, Miami, I think is kind of known for lackadaisical crowds at times, showing up late. You know, so they could have picked a better city possibly, but the Intuit Dome, I mean, that light show that they had going on throughout the event, just because of what's in the rows of the seating and everything, the way that's already built into the stadium and stuff, really cool features that they were able to take advantage of.
They had a lot of glitz and glamour. The stars were out.
Yeah.
I think no matter where they put it last night, we were going to get this kind of like this crowd.
You're probably right.
Right on the normal level because of.
But they're doing Madison Square Garden coming up here soon. I'm doing Madison Square Garden, then LA.
I agree with you only because you know New York's going to show up. Like, they're never quiet, regardless of the fact. And LA's known for being a quieter crowd. They just are.
Madison Square Gardens had a lot of amazing wrestling matches there.
I mean, the Mecca is the Mecca for a reason, right?
For a reason. They would have Fat Joe come out and lose the World Series for the Yankees again. Never mind.
Oh, well, that was probably on the same level of cringe as Hogan last night, which we'll get to. So.
Right on.
I was excited from the start. Our boy Pat McAfee's back.
Yeah.
Love Pat.
They and I like Joe Tessitore. I think Joe Tessitore does a good job.
Yeah.
They moved him from Raw to SmackDown.
Which is fine. I mean, you could put him and Cole and switch either one of them. And I think no matter who Pat works with, it's going to be fabulous.
Pat McAfee was awesome. He was calling Dominic a dumbass, and
he was lighting him up, dude.
He was having a good old time. I love Pat on the call, so I'm glad that he's back. And
he's completely seamless though too. And Michael Cole, he doesn't get a lot of good run because everybody's very biased towards Jim Ross, you know, being the voice of WWE for so long. But Michael Cole has been there for 28 consecutive years.
I was going to say, while I grew up with Jim Ross and I can appreciate the Cowboy, I kind of feel like Cole's always been my voice for the most part.
Jim Ross and Lawler for me.
You know, Ross and Lawler are classic. They're absolutely classic. But if I had to pick, in all honesty, I would go, and I think it proved well last night. I think Pat and Cole worked really well together. Cole is kind of like a heel type announcer almost. And
not as much as the other guy.
It works. Ross, while I love Ross because he's the classic, he just always was kind of like a good old boy who's just going to tell you how it is. You know what I mean? So there was never like any surprise or favoritism from him, which could take away from some of the matches sometimes. And I think the way Cole plays on that favoritism while he's announcing helps build up some of those storylines, which I think is what you kind of need. So Lawler kind of helped bring Ross along, and I think that was what they wanted that to be. But I like it better when you get Pat sitting there just telling it like it is, what the people want to hear, and then Cole's kind of that heel announcer. I kind of like that dynamic more personally.
It's kind of weird because when I grew up, my favorite announcing team was Vince McMahon and Jesse the Body Ventura.
Sure.
That was an incredible combination because you had Vince that was so straight arrow and then Ventura that was so condescending all the time. Vince, you're so stupid. Don't you see that Hulk Hogan is cheating again and da 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 da. And McMahon, you're so stupid, right? It's great. But I love Cole and oh my gosh, Pat McAfee definitively for sure.
Ron, tell us about what are your thoughts on The Rock? his coming out talking. His daughters were ringside. That was nice.
So, all right. So, from a flavor of the month standpoint, I liked it because to see The Rock out there being an ambassador for the event for WWE was incredible. However, it didn't fit the storyline. So now they gotta play some makeup, right? Because all of a sudden, Rock's coming out there. He's not the final boss. He's not coming out there doing the thing. I'm just here to congratulate Cody Rhodes and tell Mama Rhodes I said hi again. No weirdness. Whereas 6 months before, we were like loving it because The Rock was bringing wrestling back to prestige, right?
Right.
So
He couldn't. Now he just came out, baby.
What's that?
He's got them Disney deals he's got to worry about right now, which is why the timing ruined all of this. It's the first time I heard that dude yell Chihui in the crowd and The Rock acknowledged it, I went, oh yeah, he ain't the final boss right now. I guarantee this is going to be good guy all night. And I guarantee it's because of that movie in Disney right now. Because he has to finish that run of whatever that is before he can go back to being, the CEO of TKO and all that and final boss. He can't be out there. I saw something last night that I thought was really funny. He was holding a bottle and he saw a bunch of people in the parking lot and stuff. It looked like he was taking sips off of it. And then like 30 seconds later, the next clip is him in his truck driving home.
Driving off.
And I was like, oh, no. Oh, no,
Bad look, Rock. Bad look. Somebody drive you. Somebody drive you. You make enough money.
Get your driver out to drive you around. Right.
And he's just going home. Like legitimately just heading home. Like the dude is just like, I'm done for the night. I'm going to go home. See ya. But yeah, I think it was just Disney G-rated. He's got kind of that thing that has to take place right now. And that prevented the final boss from being able to continue that storyline, which is why it was like when he came out and he did the whole ceremonial blessing of Roman and asked Paul Heyman if he could put everything on him. And then, he's leaving and he's thanking everybody and he's hugging and he's kissing and he's loving it. I'm like, this is.
And again, he can't come out.
That was like the CEO of TKO saying thanks to Netflix rather than doing the final boss CEO.
And he just bought another 90,000 shares of TKO. So he's got, I think they say he's got over 290,000 shares now.
Yeah, well, that means you own what? Basically the UFC and WWE.
I mean, he's got a small percentage of overall shares. But
I'm just saying that
he's adding up to what he's got. His daughters were in the crowd, and I didn't realize his daughters were as young as they are. Like they're young.
Yeah, he's got some young babies.
He's got some young kids for sure.
Isn't he like 53, 54?
He's 52 years old. He's
52?
He's 4 days older than I am.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably about what my kids are going to look like in 10 years. Oh, God.
So the opening was, for me, it was good, but it didn't follow storyline, but it was a great introduction to the Netflix world.
Right. It was a fine line. They had a kind of tightrope, and I don't know if it succeeded, but it didn't fail.
I'm wondering where they're going to go because now they're on Netflix. I think I shared with you guys on our chat, Drew McIntyre sitting there with The Rock saying, I can say this, and Rock was like, whoa, you just crossed the line. And but truly they can. There's no real censorship on Netflix, so they really could do like the stuff that Vince McMahon got away with in the Raw era, the
Attitude Era.
Like a lot of that would get you canceled nowadays, but like, they could put boobs out there and they can, F-bombs and they could do all that. So I'm wondering if they're going to do any of that in the future, but they kept night one fairly clean overall. So
it will be interesting because there were some, like, if you go back and do like a down the rabbit hole dive, there were some wild storylines back in the day that I'm not just getting canceled. Like you're going to trial nowadays. like like Me Too ain't got nothing on what some of these storylines were. Like if you go down the rabbit hole and like I think back on some of them, like, hey, damn, like how did they get away with that? Because it wasn't network television. You know what I mean? Like it was cable. And cable was seen as the off-brand, do whatever you want at the time, and they took full advantage of it. And now cable is so common because of streaming and everything, and you just re-air it on something else that you can't do that anymore because it is mainstream TV now, if you will. So by going now to the true streaming service, and the guy leading the storyline arc is a guy who was arguably the leader of the Attitude Era and coming in with Generation X and everything else, I am very hopeful for what we see. I don't know if you're not going to get those ridiculous Vince McMahon shock storylines just for the shock storylines. I don't think. I think they will have more purpose. I think they will be more well told. But I think you're going to get more of the gritty, grimy kind of PG-13 pushing our limits a lot more often.
Let me ask this question of Ron, being the expert here. Do you think now that the overall these athletes have gotten to a point that they don't have to do all these crazy storylines like they did in the past? They can let the athletes tell the story in the ring with their athleticism and their ability to really wrestle. Where in the past, I know we had, there's some wrestlers that really weren't great, but they were characters and they had presence. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's actually about 20 parts to it, but I'll keep it to two. Number one, yes, I think that the athletes are so much more athletic now that they can almost bridge the gap between MMA and boxing in WWE. It's predictable and it's predetermined, but you're also seeing great athletes out there doing some stuff. The problem that I'm having with the Triple H era is that Triple H is getting too much credit for writing the story, which is taking the kayfabe out of the work that it is, which is wrestling. I remember growing up and watching the Four Horsemen beat Dusty Rhodes' ass in the parking lot. And I was seriously like, we need to call the cops, Mom. Dusty Rhodes is right. Like seriously feeling that energy. Whereas now it doesn't have that same appeal. Like when they have something go down, you're like, oh, well, Triple H at 12:30 today wrote this, and that's what is going on, right? So there's a little bit of balance in that. I think that I hope that WWE gets to making it feel more real for the upcoming fans, right? Like for me, I can suspend This Isn't Real and enjoy it. But for the incoming fans that are looking at it, they're like, well, this dude wrote the whole story. I could go watch something that's more real like MMA or boxing or something like that. It takes away from those people, I think, in my judgment.
So totally understand what you're saying. And that's part of the reason I took a sabbatical, because of the way the stories were going and things of that nature. I am hoping, just based on things I've heard Triple H say and some of his actions, that I'm not trying to give him all the credit and say he's writing the stories, but I think he's trying to get back to and understands what truly made it great, which is the Attitude Era, and how to bridge that gap. My hope is that, and why I feel like maybe I am giving Triple H, credit where maybe it isn't due yet, is because I'm hoping what we saw the last year and a half, 2 years, was him basically trying to clean up Vince McMahon's mess and find a smooth transition from network to streaming and not burn any more bridges along the way. Time will tell. I think we'll know within this next year.
We definitely didn't need any more Austin Theory. So
no,
Right.
And we'll get to that, obviously. But that's why I think the matches we saw last night were quality. The storylines, I think, the Dom and Rhea story, I think, kind of tied a nice little bow on the end there. And that was kind of I'm hoping, again, this is all hope and speculation. We'll find out as the year progresses and how things, build on each other. But I'm hoping that was kind of Triple H and his team saying, this is how we're going to finish that stupid ass shit that we were forced to think was a good idea. And now we're going to start doing things the right way. But then at the same hand, Rhea gets to have that moment, and then the Undertaker comes out and rides a Harley around the ring for no fucking reason at all.
For what? Right?
Made no
And then
sense.
completely takes away Rhea's moment there. And then they do some hug, high five. They do the one with their backs turned, like, and then we move on again. Like, there was a lot of things last night, like you were saying, Ron, that were probably could have been done better. They felt disjointed a lot of times. Like, there wasn't a true flow that needed to be there because they were trying to, like, do this ceremonial, like, honor the past thing.
Right.
While at the same time really show that this is Raw now on Netflix. And it just didn't mesh well. Like, there was no reason to do the old school, bring all those guys in. You know, the only thing I could kind of understand is The Rock doing the good guy thing because he is, you know, on the board of TKO, and this is a huge deal corporately, businessly, and everything else, to where he, you know, doesn't play the heel, so to speak. Okay, fine. I can kind of overlook that, forget about that, and he can come back, you know, in a week or two and do the story. We're good. But adding all that other stuff, Hogan, we'll talk about again here. The way Cena was done dirty again, like, I'm just.
It was weird. I didn't like the whole Cena thing was
let's talk about that in a sec. Just one sec. For me, I don't even mind Undertaker coming out, but to me, Undertaker should have been out in the dead man suit.
Well,
he should have come out, should have had that, like, his song, and it I don't know, him coming out on the motorcycle. I didn't feel that at all.
You don't do the bell toll and the lights go dark in the stadium. And then 30 seconds later, he rides out on a Harley.
Right.
No Undertaker dress. And all the lights are on. Like, what? Again, the thought process was not, it wasn't thought through all the way. They're like, we want to slam all this in there. How can we do this?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to this, right? So at WrestleMania 40, right, if you want to have a continuation of the story, in the tribal combat match, which I know we're going to get back to in a minute, Undertaker was in WrestleMania 40 in that whole soiree at that time. Why didn't they bring him back during that match? Because that ties that bow together with what happened at WrestleMania 40. That makes sense.
Right.
He helps Roman now, so that ties that whole story together. So then that makes it so that, okay, I did you one after I did you wrong. So now we're good. You know what I mean? Something like that. And then they walk off and do this. Rhea Ripley and him walking off didn't make any sense.
Zero sense. I mean, good for Rhea. It looks like she's able to go do her own thing now. And, you know, the fans love her. So she doesn't have to be part of Judgment Day or Dom's side piece or anything like that. So let's see what she can do. But, I mean, yeah, it didn't do much for me, especially when the match was really good. Like,
match was excellent. But then
her and Liv
Undertaker
Morgan
came out and it was like, what the hell?
It was good. It was damn good.
Her and Liv. I mean, they've got good chemistry in the ring together. But at least when I watch it though, I'm like, Liv's on another level when it comes to the wrestling piece of it, in my opinion.
Then Rhea?
Yeah, Rhea's got more of the brute force and everything, which again, you need some of that here and there. But I think Liv's a fantastic wrestler, and I'd like to see her move away from dealing with Rhea all the time. You know, having her with Bayley, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss if she comes back soon. You know, I'd like to see this. I'd like to see her get out and do some more, you know, wrestling with some of these fantastic ladies that we have wrestling. Like some of these ladies are really good.
Well, let's move on to that next subject that you kind of brought up already, which is the match for the Ula Fala and the bloodline rules, which basically means there are no rules, literally.
Gotta love that.
So, you know, look, and I said this to you last time, Ron, and I don't know if you've given this any more thought. I think I don't dislike Roman. I think he's overrated in the pantheon of greats. And I told you last time, I feel like he's no different than Brock Lesnar. I feel like if you took names out of it and you just put career for career next to each other kind of thing with no names, you would go, damn, is that the same dude?
Right.
And then you put the names up and you're like, oh, no, yeah. Roman's like greatest ever and Brock's like, but they're the same to me. Like their storylines, the way they dominated for a long period of time, constant interference to keep them going a lot of times, or just a ridiculous overpowering of who's supposed to be the best available to fight. Like neither one of their stories to me was well told. I will say this though. Roman and the team have an opportunity, for me at least, and I know I'm in a minority here, but for me at least, I think they have a chance to rewrite his story right now. And you could still do him as the heel or a good guy villain, however you want to look at it, because they can go back and forth at times depending on what side you're on. But they could do it in such a way now where he truly does build everybody up, but not rely on them to be the leader. And he could really go out there and dominate and then not need the bloodline to constantly come in and save him. Or if that's how it's going to be, maybe then you be an equal and you go down and you help whoever else needs help during their matches. You know, something that at least for me creates more of this. I didn't need it, but I had it, rather than I had it and needed it, because that's how I look at his whole championship run. And you know, I can't remember a match where there wasn't multiple interferences from the bloodline that saved his ass time and time again.
True.
And it was just like, there's no ooh and ah to these matches. It's just a wait and see when, and then Roman walks away at the end of the night holding his finger up. So I would like to see a better story written for him moving forward if he's truly going to be the tribal chief. They really seem to play up that whole Rock being the I can't remember what Sulule.
The high priest, the high chief.
Yeah, the high chief Sulule or something like that. So I'm wondering. I expected to see the final boss when the Ula Fala went on. I expect to see the final boss at that point.
Choke him out or something, right?
Or when he took his glasses off, let him know, like, I am the high chief. You might be the tribal chief, but I am the high chief, and we will be discussing later. Something.
Right.
And maybe that's where they'll go. I don't know. But that's what I'm really hoping for with Roman and the bloodline going.
Robert, you're new to this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Roman?
I mean, from the events that we've gotten to go to that we've watched together, and then the one event we got to go together and see live. I mean, I enjoy him a lot more than Solo, personally. I thought as Caleb said, it would have made more sense for The Rock as the final boss to kind of make his presence known as the chief in the situation. Because yes, this is a big moment, but there's still the hierarchy that needs to be recognized in the situation because it has been ignored for while this feud has been going on, per se. And I'm coming into this on the back end, so that's kind of just my perception of it, is like this entire time, like, the Rock is looming over this whole thing, but his presence wasn't really as the final boss, like, or the high chief really felt. It was more of like a, hey, yeah, you did what you were supposed to do type situation. It didn't have a whole lot of bang to it at the end to build up another momentum.
I'm not a huge Roman fan myself. I find this whole bloodline tribal chief thing just played out. I enjoy that, like, Jimmy and Jay as a tag team. You could make the argument they're the greatest tag team of all time. And if you don't say they're the greatest, at least I think you've got to at least admit they're in the conversation. But Jay's at a point now, he doesn't even need the bloodline anymore. He's doing his own thing. He's got the whole crowd yeeting and having fun, and all of his matches are awesome. They're fun to watch, like all of them. When I watch a Roman match, I just, it doesn't get me. when the Rock and John Cena and the Undertaker showed up WrestleMania 40 in the match, I was like, all right, awesome. But when I watch a normal Roman match, there's nothing that makes me go, this is awesome. Nothing. Oh, I guess when Brock Lesnar hit the stage or hit the
Right.
the mat with the tractor, that was pretty cool. Like I could get behind that. But like other than that, like
That was pretty solid.
Roman's whole thing, like I've never watched a match of his and just been super stoked and excited when it got done.
I used to. I remember back in the day when it seemed like he was actually fighting. You know, he'd go to cock that Superman punch and somebody'd come in and catch him. And, you know, all of a sudden people would forget it's loaded. And, you know, 2 minutes later, he'd finally get back up and just clock you. And then he kind of reminds you, yeah, that was still loaded. You forgot about that, didn't you? You know what I mean? Like there were things like that before he became the tribal chief heel that I thought he did really well. And then it's almost like he went out for that cancer run that first time. And when he came back, him and the WWE in agreement that whatever he was before was not who he was going to be going forward. And the way they handled it after that going forward, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's almost like he got too much control of his own story, which made the writing not good to begin with. And then it just is, you know, there was no changing it from there. I don't know. But that was just kind of the feeling I always got from it at that point.
The only thing I can think of that Triple H can do to make this thing right is to rewrite the bloodline to the beginning to the end. So in order to accomplish that, Roman Reigns has never, since he's come back from losing at WrestleMania 40, apologized to anybody inside of the bloodline.
Right.
Never. So at some point in time, he has to reverse feud against all of them, going all the way back to Jay to pass Jay the torch, because Jay was the first one that he had beef with. So Jay could get the WWE title or the World Heavyweight Championship down the line. If Triple H can accomplish that arc, it will be a hell of a long time before they can beat this storyline, because you will have told the story forward and in reverse.
And I would agree with you. If they can find a way to do that correctly, it would bring me back. At least in the sense of not hating the bloodline or just simply because I don't like them. You know, I just don't like it because I think it's a bad storyline. It has nothing to do with heel or good guy or anything like that. And that's the problem I have with it. Like if I hated them because I wanted to hate them, that would to me mean the storyline's well and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
This is a 4-year long. It's time to move on.
Yeah, but he's not wrong, Peaky. And here, Ron, tell me if you like this, because you and I are thinking about the same here, I think. The way I think you can do it is what just happened last night to Jey Uso.
Oh, he got a victory. He got a big victory over Drew McIntyre. Huge.
What's McIntyre been trying to do for the last year and a half or so?
Take out the bloodline.
That's how you get that storyline. Is McIntyre finally finds a way to start picking them off one by one. And through them being picked off, it causes Roman to rethink.
I don't know.
Redo.
Man.
Because this is why it works. He apologizes. He makes up with the bloodline, but McIntyre finally gets to destroy it.
I mean,
you end the bloodline, you end the story. You finally let McIntyre move forward with the potential to do something outside of this ridiculous revenge thing that they keep trying to have him go back and forth with. He was doing it with Sheamus for a while and trying to be like his older brother, but like, I'm going to destroy you, revenge for what you did, and I'm just trying to teach you a lesson.
I'm Scottish, you're Irish.
The bloodline, and now like get him away from that, because I think he's got way more potential and storytelling ability. So you could end the bloodline, you could end this McIntyre thing, and tie that all up within a year.
You have one problem there. There's not just one bloodline anymore.
Well, there might be, based upon Solo Sikoa losing last night, because he said that if he lost, he would acknowledge Roman. And what does that create now? That's another open-ended item as far as that goes. Last night, one of the things that was a big glaring thing to me about Roman Reigns is he was grossly out of shape last night. When I was watching that match, he was exhausted and
He
his
looked
wrestling-
slow.
He was slow, and it was just a monotonous match last night.
And mainly brawling. I mean, well, that's what he's been for a while now. It's just kind of brawling, not doing a whole lot in there. So.
And
We'll see how that plays out. But I would like to see that wrapped up in the year. And we need to see strong forward movement towards us, knowing that that's being wrapped up.
We're getting Rock.
I'm gonna lose interest again. I will.
We're gonna get Rock Roman. We're gonna get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. I think that's gonna happen. They don't have too many more years for the Rock to be in there wrestling. So
well, here's the deal. I really want to see Cena get that championship. And as we're moving forward and talking about WrestleMania, he discussed it last night a little bit and basically said, it'll never happen. Don't worry about it. And he said, well, actually, there's this possibility of me doing this and then maybe winning the Royal Rumble, and maybe being able to go win another championship. Like, here's why. This is why I say I need to see it. And Pinky, you know this, I'm not a fan of fan service for fan service. I do not like it. I don't think this would be fan service to give Cena the title. I think it would be a giant apology tour for how dirty they've done him over the last 5-6 years. You mentioned it earlier. They had him lose to Austin Theory within like 3 minutes at a WrestleMania. Like
awful.
That was
awful.
That was deplorable. What Cena has done, what he's meant to, his impact on pop culture, he is an icon. And they could have, the fact that he had mentioned last night that it had been over 2,000 days since his last victory, that's absurd. That's absurd that's the storyline they chose to move him forward with over that time. Regardless of whether or not you were mad at him for not being there and going and doing movies or whatever, that was atrocious. So I do want to see this storyline play out in that manner.
When did he come out and tell that he was doing the retirement tour? Was that Survivor Series?
At Survivor Series.
Was it Survivor Series? So everything he said in the ring last night, and this made me laugh. I laughed so hard. He said in his press conference after Survivor Series.
Yeah.
He said all of it. He hadn't won a match in 5 years. He doesn't want to automatically get a title shot. He had to earn it. He felt it, I can't jump guys in the locker room. I've got to get back and earn it because I'm not a top contender today. I got to earn it. I felt the way they had him do it out in the ring just felt weird.
Like all of their appearances last night. All of their scripted appearances were just awkward last night.
I did not.
Are you telling me Hulk Hogan didn't crush it?
And again,
no, Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry. Hulk Hogan was cringy, not awkward. Everything else was awkward. Hulk Hogan was just cringy.
But you're telling me he didn't crush it though?
Oh, he crushed it. He crushed it. He crushed what was remaining of his WWE career.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
They won't put him out front like that again,
unless he's in a Hollywood Hogan outfit or something like that.
And I did love Jimmy Hart coming out with him. That was awesome. I did like Jimmy Hart coming out, but
yeah, that was cool. That part was cool. I'll agree there.
But John Cena coming on his the thing about his whole rap that he had last night is he has this underdog persona that he's putting on for the first half of his thing. Then all of a sudden he has this lightning bolt that hits him that says, wait a minute, I could go to the Elimination Chamber. I could go to do this. Or I could enter into the Royal Rumble. Like he didn't think about he's had since November to think about it, right?
Well, no, he said all of that at the press conference at Survivor Series. He said every single one of those. I can earn a title match at Elimination Chamber. I can win Money in the Bank. I can win Royal Rumble. He said all of those things.
They were basically like, hey, John, that presser you gave was really good. Can we just kind of clean that up and do a speech and you can just do that? And he's like, yeah.
And maybe that was for all the new fans, like all the new fans that jumped in last night. Maybe that they got to hear that. And it made sense at that point. But like he had decided all that. To me, I wanted him to come out. And I wanted him to just be like, you know what? I haven't had a match in so long. I haven't won in 2,000 days. so-and-so, get your ass out here. Let's fight. Like, I wanted to see it a fight last night. That's what I
want to get behind you right now, right? I don't want to wait. I want to like see what you got right now. Let's go. Because the one thing that I was thinking about, guys, is this. As a new fan, not us that's here, a new fan, and I'm on Netflix and there's this WWE thing on, right? And I click it. I want to get behind someone. And the first half of that show, maybe all of the show, if I'm being honest, there as a new fan, what storyline do I get behind? Because they were finishing up storylines.
Dude, I fully agree with you, Ron. If you are brand new to it last night and that was your first time watching, there was enough that I think you're intrigued to come back, but you definitely didn't pick somebody that you're a fan of after last night. There was nothing about any while us as people who have been following could say those were good matches. For the most part, everything was a good match last night. There wasn't really a stinker. There wasn't anything we were like, oh, that was really, that's what we're gonna do now. Fairly predictable, but in a good way. But there wasn't anything like Seth Rogen. I am a huge Seth Rogen fan.
Right.
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rogen. Seth Rollins. Monday Night Rollins.
I love Seth Rollins. I love him.
Big fan of his. I think he is a through and through company man, and he took the hit last night for the company because him losing that match I thought was absolutely ridiculous for a number of reasons, and we can talk about it here in a moment. But the reason I bring that up is because usually he will put on a match in such a way, and there will be something he does within that match where you're like, who's that guy? And even he didn't really have that last night. So I fully understand where you're coming from as a new fan. I think there's enough to bring you back next week, but you only get 2 or 3 weeks of that, right? Before, if somebody doesn't have a reason, an interest, a draw, that personal attachment, then they're not going to come back anymore. So where do you think that disconnect was?
Because I think that they wanted to rely on the past again. They went in with the past. They went in with Triple H, The Rock, John Cena, because they wanted to like put things in front of your face that may be familiar to you.
That ate up 45 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, it was real slow start for sure.
We could have had Gunther out there. We could have had Braun Breaker, who does some things that like people like, whoa, like, I didn't like the surprises with the Logan Paul match. He's all in now, according to
on the
him
roster,
on the show.
Signed, full time.
He's all in.
Raw.
Right. So have him jump into something. He does stuff that like when you again, I'm a huge Logan Paul wrestling fan. Outside of the ring, whatever. Probably
He's
not
yet to have a bad match.
No, he's never had a bad match.
He is yet to have a bad match.
He entertains me every time he gets in the ring, and I enjoy that about him. And I root.
What was it? Was it WrestleMania 2 years ago where he flew basically all the way across the ring?
No,
right.
That was no. Was that Royal Rumble?
Was it?
I think it was Royal Rumble because him and an opponent
and Ricochet
opponent.
Yeah,
Ricochet. Oh my good Lord! Like that was awesome.
Like that from the moment he's come on, he has been willing to continuously
and
one up almost what he's done previously, and it's been really cool to watch and see. So, like you said, Pinky, think of him what you want outside the ring, but the dude, he's taken the wrestling from my eyes pretty seriously, and he's put on some really stellar matches.
Fantastic matches. Not just good, fantastic matches.
For sure. So I thought they ruined I thought they shouldn't have focused as much on the past and given us more of the now. Gunther should have gotten in the ring last night. We could have had Logan Paul get in with something. We could have had a little bit more from Kevin and Cody than them kind of brawling and running off into the crowd. Like, for me, the best moment was Jey Uso up in the crowd trying to get everybody to yeet. Travis Scott smoking a blunt.
That I literally turned and looked at my wife. I go, we are in an age I never thought I'd see.
Ever.
Legitimately never did I think in my lifetime I would see that.
Right.
And it's just chilling in the arena, smoking a blunt, waiting for Jey Uso's music to come on. Like, all right, cool.
Alrighty then.
We're doing that then. Here we go.
So
Can I have one of your
what's
nachos?
that?
Can I have
What's
one
he
of your
doing,
nachos?
Mom? Just passes it to the 8-year-old next to him as he walks down the aisle. Like, what are we doing?
And Jay, and again, I enjoy Jay. I think his matches are always entertaining as well. I think I've really I think he's one of the guys I root for and really enjoy watching, because I'm always to me I always remembered, and again, this is going back in time, Ric Flair had flair and flamboyance, and he was kind of a dick, and he maybe wasn't for everybody. I enjoyed the fact that when Ric Flair had a match, that thing would go 40 minutes to an hour every single time, and he put on a match. Mm-hmm. So whether you liked his character outside the ring or not, that guy gave you a show. He gave you your money's worth every night. And that's what I feel about Jay. Like, he gives me my money's worth every time he gets in there.
Yeah, I love Jey Uso and everything he's about right now. So let's tie this up in a bow, because we've got plenty of NFL to still discuss. There's a lot of it. So, and college football. Let's discuss the Hulk Hogan, because we've mentioned it. We've talked about a lot of other things. Let's talk about Hulk for a second here, because that was like, from the moment they walked out, like, you could just tell it was going to be bad.
I didn't think it was going to be bad at first. I saw Jimmy Hart coming out with the flag. They're playing the old school,
Oh man, my first thought was Hulk looks old and debilitated. Like, that was my very first
thought.
And it didn't get better.
Okay, it was not a good look. I was kind of sad I'm a Hulkster. I like the Hulkster. I've always liked the Hulkster. I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with a lot of the things he says. I mean, he's pretty much known to be a racist as well. So I'd say, like, all of those things, but I enjoyed him in the ring for the most part. Again, I was, 5, 6, 7, ate my vitamins, said my prayers. Like, that was my guy. But man, read the room, man. Like, that guy. No, like, I don't know why. I don't know why they had him out there. They had him. I guess the Great American Beer is the official beer of the WWE, so that's why he was out there. But that was a bad look for WWE, and getting him booed. Merciless. I mean, they were killing him.
Yeah, it was definitely a bad situation to put him in because of his political stance in Los Angeles. And so it became duality, right? He's got a depiction on himself right now to where he's unfavorable in the public eye because of stuff that he said out of his mouth, his stand politically, and you're in Los Angeles, where all of a sudden a dead crowd becomes very vocal. That's the crazy thing. It was dead all night long until that music hit, that person walked down, and another flag was raising. It just intensified the situation. So, long story short, the only way that WWE can make that right is they got to turn Hulk Hogan heel and make him cool. Just like making America great again, you got to make Hulk Hogan cool again. You know what I mean? I'm saying it. It's just catchphrase, if you will.
I mean,
I don't know if they can, though, man. I just don't know. At
this point, I'm distancing myself. Appreciate what you used to mean to the company. Appreciate what you did for the history and getting us off the ground and everything you went through, trials, tribulations. Pat, peace out. Thank you. We had a new generation. Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold. We'll bring them in. Undertaker didn't look great either. He looked really old, and let's start. We don't need that. Ruins the facade of everything you're trying to build when you bring them out and they look in that manner. It ruins everything. That's what the the Hall of Fame ceremonies are for, and the awards dinners, and everything else that isn't Monday Night Raw and the pay-per-view events. And that's what they need to start understanding. That seriously would be like if you brought out Dan Marino, Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, like in that commercial where they're like, let's unretire. And you go try to put them in for a play just for fun, for ceremony, shit and giggles. It's not going to happen. It's a bad look, and everybody knows why. The WWE needs to start realizing that and moving on from the past. You embraced it. You paid homage to it. You can always do that, but it doesn't have to be included in the future. So they don't need to be part of matches. I don't need them riding Harleys around their arena. I don't need to see Hulk Hogan looking like I could break him myself, trying to give us a speech about his partners and his past and how we need to get riled up. I didn't like it. I didn't like it even a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
I don't even know what he was saying because he was getting booed so bad.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, he's getting booed. Like, I didn't even pay attention after that.
Dude, I was amazed because I knew all the stuff he had said and done and whatnot, and I knew that like there weren't a lot of kind eyes on him these days. But I thought I had missed something else. Like I thought there was something else going on that I had missed because you already knew that was kind of the feeling about him. So for the WWE to bring him out and force him into this, like, I just don't know what they were thinking.
And
They
again,
weren't. They weren't.
Stone Cold can't come out and do the beer because he has his own beer. So he can't come out. I don't know if WWE owns a part of this Great American Beer or whatever. Hogan's the spokesman. I don't know if he owns a part of it, but that's Stone Cold would have been better off in that light promoting beer than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that place would have went absolutely ape shit if Stone Cold would have came out there with, if the glass would have hit, that would have been a moment in time. That would have been the moment.
So, and I know they've got Goldberg planned for the 26th, I think, is what I heard. I don't know where they're at when he's hitting there, but
I don't
jumping
understand
on
why he's still. Same reason I don't understand why.
so
CM
the rumor
Punk
is
was able to win last night and beat Seth Rollins. Like, it's like they have these deals.
well,
in place
Ron's
that
a
they have
punk
to
guy. Be
honor.
careful.
It's like they have these deals in place that they have to honor and they can't get out of them. Like
Be
that's what
careful.
some of these things feel like.
Ron likes CM Punk. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm
Careful
a
what you
CM
say.
Punk guy, but he looked exhausted in the ring last night.
I'm not trying to do anything. I don't have a feeling one way or the other about CM Punk. It's more what he didn't do for the company and what Seth Rollins has done for the company. And last night was your opportunity to advance storylines, not stalemate them again. And having CM Punk win that match feels like it stalemates that storyline.
If they have Cena wrestle Punk, which Punk mentioned in his press conference as well, if they don't let Cena whoop his ass, I'm out. Like I can't have it. CM Punk he doesn't. I have not enjoyed any of CM Punk's matches since he's come back.
Because he looks old. It's not the same CM Punk that it was before he left the WWE the first time. That's part of the problem.
Anytime you leave for a decade and come back, like you're probably not. And again, your body's not the same when you're in your late 40s, early 50s, and maybe that's coming back to what we kind of mentioned earlier. The guys who are getting older don't have the same athleticism anymore. They don't have the same ability anymore. It doesn't look quite the same when they're in the ring. When you look at all the young guys we have that do so many crazy good stuff in the ring, I think that's hard to match up. And that's why every time I watch CM Punk, I'm just like, to me, he's just kind of a punk. Like other than that, there's nothing about him that I really enjoy. I mean, his song's cool. Living Color is dope. That's a dope
song. Man, they have so many people sitting on the sidelines now with all these old guys coming in, and that's the problem, is that you have all these new eyeballs that you want to put on the product, and the people that are going to carry the torch for you are sitting in the stands. Braun Breaker is a super mega star sitting in the stands waiting his turn.
Braun Breaker to me is like a combination of his family and Goldberg. When you see him do the spear or run around the ring and do the spear and everything, like his brutality, his brute force, his ability to jump from the ring to the top rope. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
A guy that size shouldn't be able to do that.
I'm hoping, but I think next week we see a true Monday Night Raw. Full match. We're not going to get a bunch of speeches from, celestial
I think
beings.
there's already well, we've got who's fighting a luchador? Was that Chad Gable?
Yeah,
Chad Gable called out
the luchador. We got the Intercontinental Women's Championship.
Right. I did see at least Nikki Bella might be making a comeback.
Nah.
I don't know how that's going to look. She's been out for a while.
Leave them out. There's plenty of other talent, especially in the women's division. I don't need the Bella twins back.
That women's division is stacked. All right, there was one last thing with wrestling we got to talk about real quick. Robert asked me a question at work, and I said, you got to ask Ron this question. There's a question you got to ask Ron. Ron's going to tell the people exactly how it should be. Go ahead, Robert.
So, how many finishers does it need to take now to actually finish somebody? and when does a finisher just become a move now? Because it defeats the purpose of it being a finisher. Isn't that the whole point? So I'm curious. I need to know your thoughts on that.
That's so Caleb, to your point, one of the reasons why I almost logged off of this is because I'm watching people do their move that kills everybody, and it takes 27 times to get that move to work to get the deal done, right? That's one thing I hope that in the next couple years, Hunter can just get that back in. When you hit your finisher, and it's over. Otherwise, what's the point of having a finisher?
Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, but it used to be, and Robert, maybe this will help, and maybe this is where they can go with it, Ron, because Hunter was one of the guys who used this, I believe. But there used to be your setup finisher move and then your finisher move.
Right. They usually have two.
So yeah, exactly. So, The Rock was the people's elbow.
The rock bottom.
And then the rock bottom was the finishing move, right?
No, the rock bottom
was the setup, and then the people's elbow was, sorry. Hunter had the pedigree, and then I'm drawing blanks. I apologize, but you get where I'm going.
The double A. Oh my gosh.
Right. But you understand what I'm saying. Seth Rollins, the stomp was supposed to be the finishing move after the Falcon Arrow. Arrow, and then it was supposed to be the stomp. Now everything has almost become this elaborate finishing move rather than these well-known setup moves that were then going to allow them to do the finishing move to end it.
I mean, how many times have we seen Cody Cutter?
Well, I was going to say,
Crossroads.
Ron, and you'll have to finish us on this, but I feel like Lesnar was the one that changed that.
Oh, yeah.
Not because F5s didn't finish people, but because he decided he just wanted to make sure they never even got up again. So he would just do 3 or 4 F5s just to completely destroy them. But then other people started taking that to just do multiple finishing moves. Is that kind of where it jumped off, or was it before that?
Where it really started was when the Macho Man and Ricky Steamboat fought at WrestleMania 3. They had 17 different false finishes during that match, and it became the doll of the ball. Everybody was like, "Ooh, I want to do that! I want to do that!" And so that's what started that happening slowly but surely, going way back then. But to your point, Brock Lesnar, because he was such a monster, he finished people. He's like, "I could pin you now, but I want to hit you with 5 or 6 more F5s just because I can," right? So there's a little bit of duality in that situation because people want to have that matinee match where everybody's like, "Yeah, I had the best match of the night. I kicked out 15 times during that match. Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it?" And then people want to have that Lesnar finish to where he's like, "I'm just dominant."
I mean, I still remember, when Undertaker hit the tombstone, you were done.
Yeah.
When Razor Ramon got you up and did the Razor's Edge, you were done.
When Shawn Michaels gave you sweet chin music, it was night.
When you had the weakest finishing move of all time, the Hulk Hogan leg drop, because watching it nowadays just go like, whoa, how did that kill anybody? You were done. He hit the leg drop on you, you were done. Like he leg drop, pin, done. So
I think, as I'm kind of thinking about this, I think there might still be one guy who, when he does the finishing move, it is night over. Any ideas?
Current,
the Viper.
yes.
When he does his finishing move, I can't really.
Which one?
Honestly,
I see him hit dudes with multiple RKOs. So what's his finishing move?
No, the RKO pretty much finishes every single one of his matches. He doesn't always hit it.
No,
but when he does hit it, it's over.
Recently, he hits people with like 3 or 4, man.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Yes.
Roberts knew. He knows.
Yes.
And I like
like
it when Randy.
RKO.
I like it when Randy does the RKO.
It's multiple times.
The RKO.
I feel like a lot of people do the RKO. I think you might be. Ron, help me out here. Help me out here.
One of the things I will say is this is one person that finishes his matches strong is Gunther. Gunther is the man. When he puts a move on somebody, it's over. He puts the power bomb, the sleeper, whatever he does to a person, it's over.
The power bomb with
He's my
the roll
favorite.
into the pin is like
I love Gunther. He's great.
Yeah, I like Gunther a lot too. He puts on really good matches.
The next time I'm on, I'm gonna have a Gunther shirt because that's my man's.
Gunther!
I do not like Gunther at all, and it's because of just he's playing the part perfectly.
Robert,
I am on the other side of that. I do not like the dude.
Robert, that's a great question. We got to move on. We still got a lot to discuss. Really love this. Everybody out there, we will be doing a party for Royal Rumble. You want to join us? It'll be February 1st, 4 p.m. Good company. Come on over. We're going to have a great time. Just be like, I know Pinky. Come on in. It's going to be good.
My only Royal Rumble I went to was the one where Vince McMahon and Austin were the last two. That was incredible. When you see them run up the aisleway during the match, I'm right there like, yeah, it was unbelievable. We're sitting up in the stands, like way in the nosebleeds, and there comes Austin and McMahon running past us. Incredible.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I probably should have gone to the Royal Rumble since it's on my birthday, but
I thought that's what you were doing. Like,
yeah, I did
that's
too.
what you talk. Thanks, Ron.
If it weren't for Green Bay, and I already told a bunch of people we're going to Green Bay, I would probably gone to that and not gone to Green Bay. But
I would have done Royal Rumble over Green Bay, man.
I'll make Royal Rumble happen. It always happens around my birthday, so we'll make it happen. All right, Caleb, we had some college football to talk about, so let's talk about that. Bring that up, my friend.
Well, let's start with the instant classic that was in Arizona State.
ASU,
dude. Arizona State and Texas put on a game, and Arizona State was down big, 17, I believe, in the first half. Came back, looked like they had it in overtime, and then allowed that 4th and 12 conversion. And then Texas came back on the second overtime, first play, touchdown, 2
Oh, dude, super quick.
But hell of a game. Arizona State, Texas. Let me just throw this out there. Pretty sure I picked every single game wrong because I picked with my heart, not my head. And I kind of mentioned that before, but
wait, Caleb, I know this already.
It is what it is. But we've got, Ohio State blew out Oregon, which I did not.
That was a track meet.
I thought it would be a game. I did not think it would be an Ohio State ass whooping. So that was surprising. Georgia losing to Notre Dame. I told you I felt like Georgia was losing to whoever won that Notre Dame-Indiana game. I just didn't like Georgia. Didn't feel like they were a dominant team that was going to do a whole lot. So them losing to Notre Dame, I don't think was a huge surprise. And then, I feel like I said, pay attention to Penn State, because while they may have had a couple losses and their schedule was weak, they had moments where it looked like they might be the best team in the country. And I said, pay attention. And they looked really good. So there's a very real possibility that we get an Ohio State Penn State final. And then the SEC is going to lose their goddamn minds. But that's a different conversation if it even happens.
Big Ten, baby.
But right now you're looking at Ohio State, Texas, right? Am I getting these right? And Penn State and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Not picking with my heart now and wanting to see upsets and certain teams lose. I will tell you, I don't see any possible way Texas beats Ohio State. Ohio State is rolling.
Ohio State's
and they are playing like the team that everybody expected them to be at the beginning of the season. I just Will Howard's playing good ball right now. That running game is almost impossible to stop. And even if you do minimize it a little bit, all they have to do is throw it up to Jeremiah Smith and the game's over. That dude is an absolute stud, should be in the NFL tomorrow, not 3 years from now. So I just, and I'm going to say it again.
You know, that reminds us of
how, what?
Do you know who that reminds me of?
Who?
Leonard Fournette. After his freshman year, we were like, that's a grown man. Let him go to the NFL.
I feel like there's been a lot of guys throughout the years that's happened with. Clowney was one of them. But yeah, that's not a bad example for sure, Pinky. I'm still confused on how people keep thinking Quinn Ewers is the reason Texas is winning games. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, you're holding this team back. I still do not understand why Arch Manning wasn't just given the reins, because I feel like at this point in time, his level of play would be so much higher
they
than
would be
Ewers is showing. And they
Arch
would
Manning
with that
would be
defense,
literally rolling right now.
I fully believe with that defense, and especially that front seven that Texas has, they would be a really dangerous contender. I just don't feel them as dangerous with Quinn Ewers at the quarterback position. And I think that's been proven. They should have lost Arizona State. Like, if we're being perfectly honest, the way Arizona State came back in that game, they should have won. That 4th and 12, good for Texas. Good for you. You managed to pull it off. But, man, I feel like we're about to see another blowout is what I feel like is about to happen with OSU and Texas. Penn State, Notre Dame, I actually kind of feel like we're about to see a blowout as well in favor of Penn State.
Yes.
People keep talking about how great this Notre Dame defense is. And all I can think about is, well, Georgia wasn't a great offense. Indiana looked like they just didn't show up for a number of reasons, but they just didn't look like they came to play. Notre Dame didn't play any great offenses this season. And what really does it for me is I think that Notre Dame offense is struggling mightily. Riley Leonard at the quarterback position, I don't think is it. And I think that's going to force their defense to be on the field a little bit more, because I do think Penn State's defense is solid. And that Penn State offense is underrated. They got a couple running backs. They've got the best tight end in the country. And Aller can throw and run the ball. So I do like Penn State by double digits, to be honest with you, in this game. So I don't think we're going to see good semifinal games.
Well, I want to debate you with regards to Texas, Ohio State. Ohio State, they have a pretty free run because they haven't met any great defenses, and Texas is number 3. So you're gonna hear me talk about this again, because defense wins championships. And when it comes to it, Texas is going to punch Ohio State in the mouth, and it's a matter of how Ohio State adapts to that, because they haven't been punched yet. It's always a good idea until you get punched, right? So that defense is incredible that Texas has, and I assure you that Ohio State ain't going to run up and down the field on Texas. And when you get into that game, the semifinal game, and you're in a situation to where you're like, okay, I got to make this play, and you got somebody staring down at you, knowing that they've already punched you in the mouth, changes the whole trajectory of the game. That's why you play the game.
Do you see what ASU did to that Texas defense last week?
Blew it up.
True.
I mean,
But they're the highest ranking seed still remaining in the tournament. And you have to respect that, because Ohio State has had a free run to this tournament game because they haven't played a great defense. The Big Ten doesn't have great defense anywhere. Everybody's offense.
Oh, whoa.
Easy, Ron. Easy.
Whoa.
I'm a Pac-12 guy, so I'm always going to give a little hate.
Look. The Big Ten has some of the best defenses in the country. And Ohio State played a couple of them. And like it or not, even Pinky will admit to this, Nebraska was one of them. So Ohio State's played some really good defenses.
What Ron is saying makes sense, because Texas does have a good defense. They could punch them in the mouth and make this more of a game than we would think.
It's not a bad thought process. This is why I don't see that happening, and why I think Ohio State runs all over Texas. Ohio State got punched in the mouth by Michigan. And they didn't just get punched in the mouth, they got knocked the fuck out. And so not only do they remember what getting punched in the mouth feels like, they remember what having to pull themselves up off the mat feels like. They were just lucky enough that was a friendly, if you will, game and not the playoffs yet.
This isn't soccer.
So
there are no friendly games in football.
Yeah, there are when there's a 12-team playoff. Ohio State was getting in whether they won or lost against Michigan. You know what I mean? So that was more about that rivalry, not about whether you're in the playoffs or not.
Right.
So it didn't have an impact on each other. That's why I think that was such a big deal. If they had beat Michigan, I would actually be worried about what you're talking about, Ron. The fact that Michigan put it to them, they didn't just lose. They got their ass beat.
True. Texas has a steady offensive line as well. They have an offensive line that is complete A to Z in regards to their line. So that gives their quarterback a real easy pocket to deal in. And Ohio State is not that guy to put that much pressure on anyway. They're okay with playing a shoot 'em up game.
You're not wrong. I just what I watched last week with what Arizona State was able to do and what that run game with Scatabo was able to do, especially in the second half, and the fact that Arizona State does not have a Jeremiah Smith, and the fact that, look, and maybe I'll be proven wrong over the years, and he'll go on to have a phenomenal NFL career, and I'll eat some crow. I do it every so often. But Ewers is not the dude. And he is your run-of-the-mill Nick Saban college quarterback. The difference here is Ewers doesn't have all those weapons around him like a McElroy had at Alabama.
Right.
And because of that, if you're not special at quarterback and you don't have anything special around you, I don't see how you end up keeping up with something that I see as special that has just gotten in their own way during the course of the year and now seems to have figured it out.
I think it becomes a ground and pound game. I think that, time of possession is going to be a big thing. I think that you put that big D and just let them lean on the offensive line of Ohio State. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I think Ohio State's going to run too. But if you're going to have a semifinal game that's going to be, I think this is going to be the sleeper of the weekend. I think that Texas is going to show up a lot bigger than what people think.
I mean, look, I want good games, especially because I don't have a dog in any of these fights. But like I told you, I'm not thinking with my heart this time. I'm going to speak with my head. And based on that, I think we don't get good games in either one. And I do think we get a Big Ten final, which is going to cause a little bit of a ripple effect across that college football scenery. Any thoughts, gentlemen? Are you ready to go to the NFL, Pinky?
Oh, I'm always ready, baby. I'm always ready.
Move it. Let's go.
This has been pretty good. The playoffs has been great. I feel like Penn State, Ohio State, that's probably where we're going. I'm not overly enthused about either. I hate Ohio State. So I'll root for whoever's playing Ohio State. give me Texas, give me Penn State. Let's go. So I'm kind of over. I hate Ohio State. I hate them.
I'm not mad at that.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk NFL Week 18 finished up. Before we, there's a couple things I want to talk about. One of the things I want to talk about is coach openings.
Oh gosh.
And we had an opening come up after I did my note.
Pierce, Raiders.
Antonio Pierce got fired. So instead of Black
Really?
Monday, it was Black Tuesday for him. Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that wasn't a surprise. I think the only surprise was that it came a day later. But, I mean, who thought Brady was going to allow him to stay on as the man?
You think Brady really has that much pull there right now?
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Why else do you think the owner of the team invited him to become a part owner? He wants to win, and he wants whatever Brady had. And so Brady's got his ear. That's what I fully believe. And I fully believe
Harmony.
a lot of the steps we're going to see moving forward are not necessarily Brady-led, but I think they'll be Brady suggestions.
He's definitely going to have his opinion heard in the room. So, and I think I actually think Antonio Pierce's firing had a lot to do with Brady being like, yeah, that guy's not it. He doesn't know X's and O's. He can't. I should say, he probably knows X's and O's because he's a former player, but that doesn't mean you can coach and educate players on your X's and O's knowledge, right? Just because you know it doesn't mean you know how to
or you can,
teach
and
it.
you're just not a good leader. You're just a coach.
Right.
A head coach is not really a coach. And I think that's what a lot of people fail to realize. They are a leader. They are a CEO. They are a micromanager. They are a problem solver. They don't do a lot of coaching anymore at that point, unless they are specifically handling one side of the ball. You see that with some of the defensive, offensive guys that still call plays. But, you look at a Jim Harbaugh, a John Harbaugh, a Mike Tomlin, some of these older guys, they're delegators. And it's part of the reasons they've been so successful. It's because they hire the right people to be the coaches. Now, some of the new age guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, your O'Connells, your McVays, your Shanahans, those guys are calling McDaniel. They're calling plays, and they're the head coach. But they seem to be doing it successfully. DeMeco Ryan would be on the defensive side as an example. So some of these new guys looks like they want to keep that ability and still lead. And they're looking like a lot of them are able to do it, but it takes a special talent to be able to do both.
I mean, Andy Reid,
great example of an old guy for sure.
Sean Payton, he calls the offensive plays, it can be done. So I wasn't too shocked by that. We also had a dead man walking all season was Doug Peterson. Still kind of shocked he lost the job, but Trent Baalke did not.
I'm still confused why he was hired in the first place. But
Baalke or Peterson?
Peterson. I didn't think it was a good hire to begin with. But then
he had won a Super Bowl
and got ran out of Philadelphia for a good reason. I don't think he's the quarterback whisperer that everybody tries to make him out to be.
True. Right.
So
I'm going to just say I don't think Trevor Lawrence is that good.
Well,
I know you agree with that.
I don't think he's necessarily had the best situation around him for a lot of different reasons. But I'm not going to sit here and defend him either because I said I'd take Fields over Lawrence back in the day. So, but two guys, you want to talk about getting some raw deals like Sam Darnold. Those two guys have definitely – you can't have much worse starts to your careers than Fields and Lawrence have had.
How about Gerard Mayo getting fired?
The Crafts have no idea what they're doing. But I also said you shouldn't have hired Gerard Mayo in the first place because you needed to completely distance yourself from the entire Bill Belichick era. So it was a mistake to hire him in the first place. I think it was a mistake to now fire him after 1 year.
But they're going to hire Mike Vrabel.
I mean, maybe. But let's be honest. If you're bringing in Vrabel, you're continuing the Bill Belichick theme. So you're really not changing anything in that building. So whatever.
So the current openings are Jacksonville, Vegas, Chicago, the Jets, the Patriots, and the Saints.
Have you heard?
The OC for Detroit should take a look at the Jacksonville job because he's done what he's done with Jared Goff, and that would be incredible for him to take Trevor Lawrence under his wing.
Have you heard the rumors about Ben Johnson, Pinky?
I have not.
Apparently, there is a word floating around that he will instantly take the Bears job if they fire Poles.
Ooh.
Okay. Look, Ben Johnson is at a point right now after 2 great seasons as offensive coordinator. If he says he wanted any of these jobs, he'd have them. Without a doubt. I just look at those teams and just the dysfunction. The only team right now, I think, I look on the list, I'm like, at least the Patriots ownership has been steady.
Yeah.
Robert Kraft has been steady.
It's looking pretty obvious that Belichick was the reason that they were successful.
Right. But do you want to go to the Saints? They look lost since Sean Payton left. The Jets are always lost.
Yeah, don't.
The Vegas Raiders, when they hire their new coach, they are still paying 3 other coaches. They're still paying McDaniels. They're still paying Antonio Pierce. And they're still paying John Gruden because they signed him to a 10-year, $100 million deal.
The thing about the Raiders, though, is if Brady truly has the ear of the owner, then that could actually be the best situation because it's going to be. Now, I will also say, Ron, I actually kind of agree with you with Jacksonville. There's a lot of young talent down there. A lot of young talent that there's been a lot of expectations for, and they've gone very much the opposite direction of what people were hoping.
Now,
but hang on. But it all hinges on if Ben Johnson believes Trevor Lawrence has it. If he thinks Trevor Lawrence could be the dude, then that could be a great job to take because you could almost have free reign what you're doing down there. But it could also be a recipe for disaster because, like Pinky just said, you kept the GM in position who has proven to make some really good moves and some really bad moves that could easily end your tenure there through no fault of your own.
But when you're a quality candidate coming out of Detroit where they're successful right now, you're going to have the ear of the GM because then you're going to start to get that sauce mixed in together.
I think
good partnership, yes.
When
a GM on the hot seat, who knows? Do they go with that fits my job, I'm good with it, or I'm not letting your decisions be the reason I get fired?
This GM has no good track record in Jacksonville.
I would disagree.
George Payton didn't have a good running mark with the Broncos, and Sean Payton has come over, and now they've evened it out. Because George Payton was on his way out. Don't get that twisted.
No, he was on the hot seat. Absolutely. But Balky is not he had some success in San Francisco. He's had no success in Jacksonville. He wasn't part of He was not part of that 2017 AFC Championship team.
I know.
That went to that game. He wasn't part of any of that. He's only been there 2 years. Ever since he got there, they have gone downwards.
Isn't he the reason Christian Kirk came, and was he the year after all of that?
Yes.
Okay.
He's been
bad.
He was there this season and last season.
Yeah, he should have gone.
When you fire your head coach, I just think you need get rid of everybody. The Titans. What did the Titans do today?
Well, that's also a weird situation, though, when you fire the GM but keep the head coach. That doesn't make a lot of sense either. it can work. It can work when, like in Jacksonville, Bulky could totally turn this around with the right hire. If let's say it is Ben Johnson, and the owner says, "Look, you guys are going to work together, and he is going to have say, and that's just the way it is." If Bulky looks at that and says, "Good, let's partnership this up. I'll use the best of my talents and the best of your talents," you could get really successful. Look at Lynch and Shanahan in San Francisco, the way they've been able to build rosters. Now, they're in a position now where things are starting to age and they're going to have to start retooling. McVay and why did I just F them picks? Why am I Les Snead in LA? They obviously have a working partnership. It's not just a Les Snead thing. So there's definitely situations where this can work, but it's unique.
And
sure.
Ron, you brought up a great point. George Payton was probably on his way out. Sean Payton comes in. Sean Payton has George Payton as a guy like this guy is good at diamonds in the rough. He's good at scouting. He's good at finding good players for what I want. And he's also a guy that might help me not do something stupid. He'll tell me, let's not do that. Let's not do that, Sean. Let's not do that. Sean still has a lot of control and power. Like we know that. But George, when it comes to the scouting community, that's how he got the job in the first place. He was a scout for the Minnesota Vikings. He helped them build a pretty good squad. Unfortunately, he just had a bad couple of years to
he
start.
He should just be a scout. He shouldn't be the one pulling the trigger. That's
right.
part of the problem.
He shouldn't be the one.
You want to talk about him evening out Sean Payton's bad? He signed Russell Wilson to an extension after trading for him. What are you talking about? Evening out Sean Payton's bad.
Well, I think we both agree on the ownership wanted to get that done.
They wanted to, no. They wanted to, ownership signing the contract business-wise made sense from ownership's perspective because they're going to be cheaper in the long run. The fact that he went to ownership and said we should sign the extension was the issue. There's a lot of missteps there. I'm not going to go rehash them. I say all that because I feel like if you use Payton as a George Payton, you use him as a scout, and Sean Payton's the one pulling the trigger on the final decision of which players to pick, you can be okay. I don't think George Payton has made a great.
We don't know what their overall relationship is of who's.
Yeah, because we still have a relationship with Russell Wilson for the next few years, so we got to deal with that. And we have to work around Russell still being on our team, playing in Pittsburgh
next year. That's it. Next year's the last year because we ripped off the Band-Aid.
But all that to be said, there are unique situations, and you find the right ones, and it can work really well. You get a GM, in my opinion, like Poles in Chicago, who thinks he's the end-all, be-all, and obviously has no idea what he's doing. You're going to be in a really bad spot to the point where the fact that he's going to be the guy picking the next head coach, you're about to set Caleb Williams back a good 3 years.
I got to ask you guys this one. So there was two teams that stayed status quo, and everybody was sure somebody was getting fired.
Giants and
Indianapolis Colts. The GM, Chris Ballard, who had previously come from the Chiefs. He helped with drafting Mahomes, if I remember right, and then he came over to the Colts. Has done nothing to help that team.
I wouldn't say nothing, Pinky. They have some pieces there. Anthony Richardson was hurt for a while this year. Jonathan Taylor was hurt this year. Their defense had a lot of injuries and stuff. So this year was weird that way for injuries this year, and they got a lot of it.
I believe in their coach more than I believe in their GM.
I'm with Ron. Now, Ron, you got to remember, Pinky is not an Anthony Richardson believer. So he already thinks that they're downward because of that pick and him being the quarterback.
I don't see him as a guy who is going to be able to consistently read a defense and help you win games.
I've seen enough flashes from the dude that you need to give him the reins and figure it out. So the fact that they pulled him this year tells me it's not the way in which he was pulled tells me it's not an on the field.
Hold on.
It's a leadership.
That man pulled himself.
Issue.
That man pulled himself.
No, we're not doing that.
He was
Pinky.
tired. We are doing that, Caleb.
Stop. We're not rehashing
He's
that.
the
He
only
took a playoff. He took a playoff. Was it a great decision? No. But we're not going back down that road. They pulled him after that and benched him for 3 games.
The greatest thing they could have done.
I don't know. I don't know if it was or not. But it tells me that there's a lack of leadership in the building. Because his development and the way he handled his business this year, there's an issue. There's an issue within that building somewhere. And it's no different to me than the Brown situation. There is no way you will ever convince me that Kevin Stefanski wanted to keep playing Deshaun Watson. There's no way you will be able to convince me that. That was a call from above him that said, if you want to keep your job, this is what's happening kind of thing. And I think there's something similar going on in Indy. There's just something that feels off to me that's just not connecting. Because I think Steichen's a good head coach. I think he's a brilliant offensive mind. And I thought, based on what he was able to do with Jalen Hurts in Philly, that the drafting of Anthony Richardson was a good fit. But there's a disconnect there. Whether it's the player and him not fully invested in being a player and learning how to play quarterback, or if, Steichen's saying he's not really ready, we need to give him time, and Anthony Richardson kind of understands that, but he's being pushed into by people above him. I don't know. But I feel like there's something off in Indy. Maybe it's the GM, Pinky. Maybe it's Ballard. Maybe Ballard's the issue. I don't know. But I feel like I'm with Ron. I think there's a lot of talent on that team that is not living up to expectations for one reason or another.
I don't believe in Jim Irsay as the owner either. So I think, again, when you've got dysfunction at the very top, you're not going to have great results overall. We also had the Giants keep their GM, Joe Shane.
I don't.
Which, again, I like Brian DeBall. I think he can be a really good coach. The Giants have been in this, and it's not all Joe Shane's fault. He's only been there 2 years, I think.
No, it is all Joe Shane's fault at this point. That's the issie.
Well, hold on. They had who'd they have before him? Because he was god awful.
He was bad.
He was the one that drafted Daniel Jones at 6.
Right, but here's the problem, Pinky. You, as the GM, convinced your owner to sign that QB instead of the running back.
But that wasn't him. That wasn't Shane. That was the guy before him. No, it was the guy before him.
No, Shane is the one that decided to sign Jones and part with Barkley. Yes, he is.
It wasn't.
Yes, he is. It was on Hard Knocks. He literally talked about it on Hard Knocks. And I don't even watch Hard Knocks.
Dave Gettleman. Dave Gettleman was the GM that drafted Daniel Jones.
Sure. He sure was. Joe Sheen's the one that gave him the extension. Over Saquon Barkley.
Daniel Jones. All right, keep going while I try to figure out who was that, because I swear it was Gettleman.
I mean, you just said Sheen's been there for 2 years. Daniel Jones signed the contract extension 2 years ago. He's the one that signed him to the extension. He chose the quarterback.
In his first year, he decided to. Yeah, that was probably bad.
Probably bad. Like maybe bad. Like I'm not quite sure yet. Bad. Is that what you're saying?
2,000
another season to think about it.
Game. It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad decision.
And
their schedule next year is brutal. Their schedule next year is brutal.
It's not just. I even said I would re-sign Daniel Jones. based on the market and everything else and who was available, I said I would have signed him too because he's shown some flashes. But I wasn't paying him $40 million a year. I'd have told Daniel Jones, here's your $25 a year for 3 years. Prove it, we'll pay you later. They chose to overpay him.
I mean, 40 was the going rate at the time.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Was.
That was the rate for a quality starting quarterback at the time, not Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel
They
Jones
priced themselves out of the market. The Giants set a market that didn't exist. That's the problem. And that was on the GM. Had you paid Daniel Jones what he was valued at, what he was worth, and if he didn't want that walk, you would have been just fine signing somebody else in free agency. That's where the GM messed up and overvalued. The other thing is if you had only done that deal or only designated that amount of money for your quarterback like you should have, you would have had money to pay Saquon. And you could have continued to draft the offensive line and build. That's not what he did. He paid Daniel Jones, and then he drafted defense. Like, I mean, this is not a good GM.
We can both agree. I would have cut Shane, and I would have kept the ball. I like the ball. I think he can be a good coach. I think he hasn't been given a good roster to coach. But
Tyreek Hill.
And what sucks is no. I don't want Tyreek Hill on anybody's team. Bro. Anybody. Because that dude is all about him, and I don't like that guy. I don't like the fact that he's got to keep playing to make money because he's got like 11 kids. Like, from like 11 different women. Like, no, he makes bad decisions. He looked like garbage this year. Healthy, unhealthy, whatever. He was bad. F Tyreek Hill. I'd like to see him just quit. And he can't quit because he's got too many damn kids.
Yeah, he's going to quit till he's 60. You know what I'm saying?
His alimony payments are crazy. His alimony payments are going to be nasty, man.
Him and Nick Cannon are trying to compete, dude.
He's got like 3 kids from 3 different women at the same time he impregnated his fiance. Like,
all right, move along. Awful. Move along.
Yeah, we want no part of that, Ron. All right. So that was coaches. All right, let's talk about some awards for this. I think this is a heated debate for most of these. Who's the MVP, fellas?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar, baby. All day, every day. You don't put up numbers like him. Nobody does.
I'm a Lamar truther, right, Pinky?
You absolutely are.
Josh Allen's your MVP this year.
With with not as good of numbers?
But he did. So I had to look at this a little bit. He played less minutes. He did more with slightly less. I don't think there's as big a gap in talent around each as the media likes to portray it as. But I do think Allen has slightly less talent around him than Lamar does in Baltimore. So because of the overall team record and the fact that Josh Allen played a little bit less overall than Lamar did, I think you could switch the two dudes and you would see the exact same numbers and situations, basically. So all things considered, my little tiebreaker kind of is team record and where you stand. And I give that edge to Josh Allen.
So I say
don't know who the runner-up was.
You've been a 2-time MVP and you beat all of your stats in the next time that you have a shot at it.
Here's the kicker. He probably shouldn't have won it last year.
Right. He should not have won it last year.
And then it would have been really easy to just give it to him this year. I am find a bigger Lamar fan. You're probably not going to.
I can't.
And I think he's numbers wise the MVP. What he did this season is absurd.
Who should have been MVP last year?
Probably CMC, if I'm being honest.
CMC should have been MVP last year.
Yeah, CMC definitely been MVP last year.
So Lamar shouldn't have got it, and he did get it. This year, he probably should get it. And
the other thing that takes it down just a notch for me with Lamar is I don't feel like Josh Allen had any stinkers. I don't feel like he had any like bad games this year. He had a few where you were like,
since he got engaged.
He had a few where he's like, maybe it wasn't absurd, but those are kind of like the game got out of control and he just kind of had to coast. Lamar had a couple games this year. I was like, Had you played better, you guys wouldn't have lost.
Unfortunately,
and so then their record would have been better. If their records are the same, I'm giving it to Lamar. Not even questioning it.
And Lamar has a guy who's an offensive player of the year candidate and Derrick Henry behind him as well.
Yeah, but again, I don't think there's that big of a difference between James Cook and
James Cook and Derrick Henry.
I think there is a difference there, and I think Derrick Henry definitely.
I didn't say there wasn't a difference. I said I don't think there's this huge gap like people try to make it out to be.
It's not a huge gap, but Derrick Henry absolutely allowed Lamar to be more successful in a lot of the things that Lamar is really good at. Play action,
passing the ball,
RPO stuff, like having the defense have to worry about Derrick Henry is a really big deal. Defenses are always keyed in on James Cook, but like you have to literally you have to stop Derrick Henry. You have to keep him from having a good day. Otherwise, you're probably not going to win at all. You can let James Cook have a good game and still win that game. It's a little bit different.
You know,
but again, Lamar's put up fantastic numbers.
I think overall, I would say Likely and Kincaid are about even, but they've also got Andrews, and Andrews is better than any of those tight ends. He's still the best tight end out of the group.
Andrews is awesome.
Well, Kincaid and the other guy for Buffalo are both catching major rocks too.
Knox is bad, but he's again a step down from, I would say, Likely and Kincaid. You look at the receiving core. Amari didn't come over until what, week 9, week 8, and he's missed a couple weeks since he's come over.
He hasn't done anything
much. Keon Coleman missed a couple games here and there. Shakur was probably their most reliable receiver.
Consistent, yeah.
Where Lamar's got Flowers, Bateman, Aguilar here and there. They are able to mix it up a little bit. I think receiving cores are probably about even. Tight ends a little bit of a bump for Lamar. Running backs a little bit of a bump for Lamar. Offensive line is a little bit of a bump for Lamar. So
I think the offensive line's a bump for Allen. I think Allen's
Allen's a little bit better?
Buffalo's O-line's a little bit better than Baltimore.
Yeah, call it push there then if you want
to. Whose defense is better, in your opinion?
I think it's a push.
Baltimore's. I think Baltimore's overall is better.
Yeah,
I think absolutely.
They just didn't. Their defensive coordinator has not been great. He's getting better as the season's gone on, but this is his first year.
I think it's half dozen the other. So again, it just
who's got your MVP vote, Robert?
Lamar.
Okay.
You can't go wrong either way. You can't go wrong.
I'd give it to Saquon myself.
No,
but
why?
Because a guy going for 2K in this day and age is something completely different, man. We're not going to see it very often. It's just not going to happen.
We've seen it 6 other times.
Yeah, and most of the time those guys win MVP too. Terrell Davis, MVP. Adrian Peterson, MVP.
CJ?
CJ 2K was not MVP.
No, it was not.
He was Offensive Player of the Year.
OJ Simpson?
I don't think he won it MVP either.
Robert, you check that stat? OJ Simpson MVP?
Eric Dickerson?
I think Eric Dickerson got MVP that year too.
I don't think he did.
Running backs got MVP more back then than they do now.
Regardless, Saquon didn't do anything to me that said he's not even the MVP of his team.
Yeah, he had a really good season, but
he is absolutely the MVP of his
team.
Simpson
what was named NFL Most Valuable Player?
What are you talking about?
What was that, Robert?
73.
Who?
OJ Simpson.
Yeah, but is that the same year he broke? Is that the same year he ran for 2K?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair. No, he's not the MVP of his team, Pinky. Because they did all this same shit the last 2 years when Jalen Hurts was the quarterback. Saquon isn't running for 2K if Kenny Pickett's the quarterback. Sorry, he's not. And I love Saquon. I think he was a huge addition to that team. He's not the MVP of that team.
He's the MVP. Sorry, but
why? Why?
Dude, who goes for 2K these days? The Eagles are not this good this year if he's not on the team. They are not that good. I watched a lot of Philly games this year. I watch them all the time. I like them. I like Hurts. I like Sirianni. He's kind of a douche. I like him. But they do not win this many games if they did not have
they
Saquon
had a
Barkley on their
ton
team.
of injuries.
Whenever they needed that fourth
So-
quarter, touchdown, Saquon was there, baby. The only, except for that week 2 or 3 game. If he catches that ball, they win that game. He didn't catch it, they didn't win. Other than that, that guy's the MVP. The only reason why he's not, I think he'll be in the conversation at the very end. He won't win it. It's because he's a running back. That's it. The MVP is pretty much quarterback award now. I don't even know why we call it MVP. It should just be quarterback award. Again, a couple years ago, J.J. Watt was MVP. They gave it to Aaron Rodgers. He's a quarterback. It was J.J. Watt. Cooper Kupp was probably the MVP a couple years ago. They didn't give it to him. They gave it to
because he won the Triple Crown.
He was awesome that year. Triple Crown, and they won the Super Bowl. He was MVP. He was MVP.
Just because you put up big numbers doesn't mean you're the MVP, dude.
Man, he put up historic numbers.
Tyreek Hill almost put up 2K yards. You weren't calling for him to be the MVP.
He was in the running?
Because he's got too many kids.
He was in the conversation early on in that season. Then he got hurt, and then he
move on.
Offensive Player of the Year.
Saquon.
It's Saquon, and I think there's a conversation for Jamar Chase, but I would give it to Saquon myself. You've got Defensive Player of the Year.
No.
No. Yeah, not that.
I don't really know. I don't really know who to give this to other than Surtain, to be honest with you.
I actually like Nick
Surtain.
Bonito. Nick Bonito balled out this year.
So I would agree with you, except for the 2 weeks he needed to show out, he didn't. The Chargers game and the Bengals game, he didn't get a sack. Not to say he didn't do his job and help the defense, but he didn't get any sacks. He didn't get any big plays. That would have really pushed him over the top. If he's in the top 3 or 4, I can see that for sure.
This is why I would say Surtain is because Bonita doesn't get to do what he did this year if Surtain isn't locking up the backside as much as he does. So I don't, and Surtain's had a great year, but I don't think it's an all-time spectacular year or anything. I think part of the reason he wins this year is because there wasn't anybody that had an insane stellar
Well,
year.
who normally wins the defensive player?
I think had Aiden Hutchinson not gotten hurt, he probably runs away with this award. What did he have, 8.5 sacks before he broke his leg?
Right.
He's probably running away with this award at that point. I think if Hendrickson wasn't on a Bengals team that missed the playoffs, I think he would be talked about in this conversation a lot more.
His 17 sacks are just such a quiet statistic because of how overall bad that defense was most of the year. But normally pass rushers win this award.
Yes.
That's normally what it goes to. People were saying TJ Watt, and I'm like, well, TJ Watt won it when he had 22.5. He tied the sack record. He's got 13 this year. Defensive Player of the Year.
I wouldn't necessarily be mad if TJ Watt or Myles Garrett won it because their impact on the game, a lot of their stats are hard to even. Their impact is hard to put into stats, kind of like offensive linemen. When you're getting double teamed and you're constantly having things taken away from you because of what you do, and the ball's going the other way and you're not even involved in the play, it can make people think you're not as impactful as you actually are. And that part of what Surtain is doing too. Part of the reason I think he's Defensive Player of the Year is because he doesn't have any stats. Because people aren't throwing at him because he's so good.
He has stats. They're just they're very low.
You know what I mean.
I saw a stat today. I sent it in the chat. There's a stat today that I sent that to me was okay, how many missed tackles did Surtain have this year?
Maybe 1 or 2.
How many tackles does he have, though?
I mean, he doesn't have a lot. He doesn't have to because nobody
Right.
throws
So,
at him,
like,
but-
I don't like that's not a stat to me that means.
But he
anything.
didn't miss any. I think that means something. When you don't miss a tackle, that means something.
Show me all the tackles, and then we'll decide if it means something. Like, are we talking
All right.
just some cupcake shit where he's just falling on the guy, or is he actually having to tackle people? Like, ball didn't go his way very often this year because of how good he is at locking people down. So it's a testament to him. But
He's got 34 solo tackles.
Which brings up a topic of we need to trade him because we need to get more depth with regards to getting more cornerbacks that are quality. Because if we only have one side of the field stopped, the other side of the field is getting all the balls. So you got to equal that out. So that makes your defense more effective.
I didn't talk to him before the show. I didn't say anything to Ron before the show, guys. Okay? Like, not a goddamn word. Don't look at me.
Your take is about 2 years old, Ron.
I've been saying it ever since we had him. We can't have our number one draft choice sucking up all of our money on the defense. We become so much better.
So this is where I will eat. I'll nibble on a little crow here for you, Pinky. I've always said he's great. I've continuously maintained he's probably the best cornerback in the league. The value that you could trade him at and the package you could get back if done right is worth trading him. That's what I've always maintained. The nibble I'll take, though, is the way Vance Joseph is calling this defense. And we'll talk about it. We haven't even gotten to playoff previews. This is crazy. Is because he can literally shut down a portion of the other team's offense, whether you decide it to be a side of the field or one player, which then allows everybody else on that defense to do something crazy, which is basically play a zone and man up when you need to in certain situations. And the way Vance Joseph is calling that and utilizing that piece with which is Surtain has been really fun to watch. So while I've been on that very vocally for a while now, Ron, I've backed off a little bit because of what they've been able to do. They've still got a big offseason that's going to say a lot about what they do moving forward. But if they can kill this offseason, I'll have to completely move off the trade Surtain.
So my only thing about that is Surtain is playing at this exceptional level right now, but Father's Time is undefeated.
Yeah, but what is he, 25?
He's
24?
25. So he's got 3 good, solid years of playing at this level right now. Right now.
He's got more than that. Champ played like that until he's 30.
Yeah.
But Champ had a chip on his shoulder because he left from Washington and came to Denver. And so he got a renewed pump in his step.
Surtain plays at a different, like his technique, Surtain's different, man.
I would say throughout history, if you're one of the great corners, you've got until you're at least 30, 31 before you start seeing that decline. So you've got another, I've always said you look at it through a 4-year window. You basically look at it as a 3-year build and a 1-year win, and then you can start all over again if you want to with the way the NFL's set up. You could continue that cycle over and over and over again. So if you're anywhere within that window, you try to move that window and push it farther down the line as much as possible. So I'm still on the fence, Pinky. I mean, honestly, I think the haul you could get for Surtain is crazy, especially what makes me even more convicted about it right now is the fact that Riley Moss is a beast on the other side. So if you can get a Jamal Adams haul for Pat Surtain and you draft,
but now you would need another corner. And again, drafting a corner is not always a sure thing.
I think corners it's easier to do now than it's ever been.
Well, if you have the right guys that know the talent, again, which
it's one of those things where would you rather have one great player or would you rather have 5 really good players? Now you can't guarantee that he would turn into 5 really good players. That's all the what ifs of the draft. But that's kind of that philosophical question, if you will. Is it the one great player more valuable than the 5 really good ones, or is the 5 really good ones more valuable than one great one?
Hey, and a lot of guys don't have the balls to play money ball, okay? Like, that's just not the case. They're usually going to take what they know.
There's some depth that we need to get deep at as the Broncos go, because our running back committee is working-ish. Our wide receiver core is working-ish. There's some pieces that we need in order to be elite. Right now, we're in the playoffs. Probably going to get our ass ran at some point in time, but at the end of the day, we're okay. We trade Patrick and we start getting a haul, as Caleb said, and start getting to fill those holes.
But that time's passed now. If you traded Surtain right now, the whole fan base would completely fucking turn on you. Like,
let them. Winning cures everything, man.
Caleb's
winning
like,
is the best
anarchy
deodorant of all time. So if you do it right and you win, nobody will give a shit. If you do it and you do it wrong, then there will be a problem. But it's like you said, Pinky, do you have the balls to make that move or not?
I don't know anybody who's got the balls to make that move. You can make that move when you have no accountability. You're just a guy behind a microphone at the moment. If you were in the front office, things would be a lot different. Your job is on the line. Your kid's eating is on the line. That's a whole different thing, man.
No, your kid's eating ain't on the line where shit. You're getting another job tomorrow with some other
organization.
You're getting paid. You're just
not if you fuck it up.
One. Yes.
Man, some of those guys get blackballed. Some of those GMs get blackballed.
You
never
would have
get
to
a job
be an
again.
idiot to mess that up that badly. Badly.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's chess right there. Like, you thought about this move for a minute, and you've thought about it for 2 years, and I've thought about it for 2 years. There's a lot of stuff that you can pick up around town to make that deal right.
2 years ago, guys, it's probably a good idea. And now that whole conversation is just mute.
I just said it. This offseason is going to tell me everything I need to know on whether or not that's still a viable move or if that door should be permanently closed.
Thanks a lot, Ron. Took us on a tangent. Offensive rookie of the year.
Jaden Daniels. It's close, but it's Jaden Daniels.
I think there's a conversation.
Strong.
It's Bo Nix, it's Jaden Daniels, it's Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is something we haven't seen before. I'd give my vote to Brock Bowers myself, but it's a quarterback thing. If a quarterback has a good
quarterback thing, Brock Bowers didn't do anything we haven't seen before. He was just a good rookie tight end.
He got
the most receiving yards by a rookie tight end ever. Great, cool.
He got the
most rushing yards.
He got the most receptions by a tight end ever, not rookie, ever. That's something that's never been done before. He did it as a rookie. That's not in consideration.
But you're catching a bunch of little 5-yard outs because your quarterback can't do anything else. It's not impressive.
That, to me, there's nobody else on that team that the defense needs to guard. Guard Brock Bowers. Don't let him catch nothing, and they kill everybody else.
The defenses didn't do that. Obviously, that's why a rookie tight end catches that many balls.
I think he did stuff that we've never seen before. I'd give my vote to Brock.
Jaden Daniels ran for more yards than any rookie quarterback has ever ran for before. Why is that any different than Brock Bowers?
I'd give it to Brock Bowers. I'm a Bo Nix guy. I still give it to Brock Bowers.
Jaden Daniels had more of an impact on his team winning. Brock Bowers had zero impact on his team winning.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers' stats meant nothing in the long term of the season. Jaden Daniels has his team in the playoffs as a rookie.
There's that.
I don't know how you argue with that just because a tight end caught a bunch of balls.
Just saying, something we've never seen before.
I mean, how many times did they force feed him the ball? Like, it's not just that he did something he didn't do anything spectacular. That's what I'm trying to get here. Just because he caught a bunch of balls doesn't mean he did anything spectacular. They just threw him a lot of balls.
He did something that's never happened before. It's not spectacular. Okay.
Just because something's old.
It's never been done before.
No.
It's never been done. It's not spectacular, though. It's not spectacular.
Because something's old doesn't mean it's valuable. Just because you broke a record doesn't mean you did it in a spectacular fashion.
That record has stood for years. Years.
Again, so what? You're trying to make it sound like he's some kind of phenomenal tight end that changed his team's course during the season. He didn't. He didn't have an impact like a Travis Kelce, like a George Kittle, like a TJ Hawkinson. He didn't have that kind of impact for his team.
Hold on. I think we could all agree every single guy you just mentioned has a way better coach and a way better quarterback than Brock Bowers has, and he still put up those numbers. Travis Kelce's numbers look putrid compared to his right now.
They do.
He lost the most amount of money for bettors this year.
And that's my point, Pinky, is his numbers had no impact on the team whatsoever.
Right. Well,
None.
again,
they were empty stats, as you like to call it. You're going to give him rookie of the year because of empty stats.
At the end of the day, it didn't help for wins. But again, when you have a shit head coach, you have nothing around you, and you can still put up all-time numbers, that says something about your individual performance. This is not a team award.
You're right.
It's an individual performance award. Dan Quinn, way better coach than Antonio Pierce. Jaden Daniels, obviously, is a really good quarterback. He had Terry McLaurin. He had a decent O-line. He had a couple good damn weapons. He's got better weapons than Bo Nix has got. Those are things in his favor that help him put up those numbers. Help him. Now, he's a really good leader. He puts in the work, and he's awesome. But Brock Bowers had the deck stacked against him and still put up all-time numbers. Again, Jaden Daniels is going to win. I'm just saying you're kind of pissing on Brock Bowers, and I do think he's got a point to be in the conversation.
So
F that guy. Thought about Jaden Daniels.
All right, moving on. Let's see. Defensive rookie.
Hold up. No, I'm not doing this bullshit with you, Pinky, giving out false stats to the people and trying to lie your way through why Brock Bowers should be. He set the rookie record for receptions, 112. The all-time tight end record is Zach Ertz with 116. So no, he did not do anything historical that has never been done before. We're not doing these games. You shut it down. Shut it down right now.
I will not. He was 4 short.
Correct your stats, my man. Correct your stats that are giving the man the award. That's all I'm saying.
I will not.
Well, then you're lying. You're giving him an unfair award. This is not cool.
False information. Remove him. That was me. I did that.
I know it was you.
I did that.
I better not see you tomorrow. That's all I'm saying. You show up at
False
work.
information. False information.
All right. Defensive rookie of the
On
year.
the day the fact checkers were disbanded. That's what you.
I just moderated you, Pinky. Get out of here.
He was short by 4 catches. I'm sorry.
Not a record, my guy. I'm just saying, not a record.
He was second. He's second on the all-time record. Okay. I still think again you're pissing on him. At least again, it's Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels.
I'm not pissing on him. I'm just trying to say you talk about empty stats all the time. And the dude had a season full of empty stats, and you're willing to give him an award for it.
Because this is an individual award. It's not a team award. It's not, did he win a lot of games? No, it's an individual award.
But it's about what his impact was to his team because Jaden Daniels had a bigger impact than Bo Nix. His team won their division, and they
did not win their division,
but they had the better record. And if you go seed for seed, Washington played in a tougher conference than we did this year.
They did not. They did not.
Yes, they did.
They did not beat a team over 500. Except for Philly. They won 1 game over 500. That was it.
Let me check that stat.
Without Jalen Hurts. Philly without Jalen Hurts.
Getting fact-checked again.
That's fine. They did win that game, but Philly lost Jalen Hurts in the first quarter. Kenny Pickett took that game to the fourth quarter.
All right, we got to do playoffs.
Playoffs. We're way late.
We're way over.
We haven't had a show in 2 weeks. I know we're going.
I know. I'm not trying to. I agree with you. There's still plenty we could be talking about.
All right, line us up with one. I definitely need a 2-minute break.
This guy. Wild Card Weekend is going down this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Quick shout out here. Backing up just a moment. College playoffs are Friday and Saturday. NFL wild card, Saturday, Sunday. So NFL wild card, Saturday game.
LA, Houston, Pittsburgh, Ravens.
There we go. LA, Houston, Pittsburgh, Ravens. LA
Then
feels like they were
Broncos,
given
Bills.
a gift for their first round as the 5 seed to go to Houston. I don't see how LA loses that game. I don't. Houston's got a bunch of injuries. CJ Stroud has not been playing very well this year. The defense is hit and miss. The Chargers have the best scoring defense in the league. They've got one of the best run games in the league, and their quarterback's better, and their head coach is better, I think. So I think San Diego, I just did it.
Yeah, San Diego.
I think LA runs into Houston and rolls them.
Oh, for sure.
As far as Pittsburgh, Baltimore's gonna roll. I want to say Baltimore rolls, but for whatever reason, and it makes zero sense, they seem to have Lamar's number. Lamar just does not play Lamar ball when he plays against Pittsburgh. And this is going to be his opportunity to bust out of that myth and destroy that and go out and ball out in the playoffs and start moving that whole conversation away from him as well. So I do believe that Baltimore rolls. I'm kind of thinking Baltimore by like 17, to be honest with you. And the other thing I will say is I am back on the train, and I have been for a couple of weeks, and I just didn't say anything. And I debated even saying this out loud, but I'm back on the train that going away from Justin Fields was a mistake. Russ has not looked good the last 4 or 5 weeks. They lost, their last 4 games?
4 straight.
His stats after those first 2 weeks fell off dramatically. The offense just feels limited these last couple of weeks, and a lot of that feels like it's on Russ.
Well, he had 3 weeks without George Pickens, and then this last week it was like George Pickens wasn't there, even though he was on the field because he kept dropping everything.
Right, but I mean, Fields was playing without Pickens, or at least even if he was on the field, he didn't need him.
He did not play without Pickens at all. Pickens played with Fields every week.
You are not. God damn it, Pinky. Never mind. Go ahead.
No, like, again, at this point, if you want to bench Russ, like, that's totally warranted. His play has not been good.
No, I was just being facetious about Pickens not playing with Fields.
I mean, but he did play with Fields.
You're not getting it. It's okay. It's okay. You're not understanding. It's all right.
That's why they were 4-2 with Fields, because Pickens played, and that's about the only guy they have. So
Pickens didn't have like any stats when he was playing with Fields. You realize that, right? Like,
that is not true.
It basically wasn't even showing up most weeks. Balls weren't getting thrown to him. Once Russ started, the balls started going to him more. So that's why I was saying that.
All right. Did everybody pick the Chargers game? Did everybody say, hey, the Chargers are going to win? Was that a consensus?
Chargers going to win.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the Sunday games?
We got Broncos, Bills at 11, Packers, Eagles at 2:30, and Commanders and Buccaneers at 6.
So I know there's a lot of people very split on this Broncos Bills game. If you're a Broncos homer, you're talking about how there's options and chances and you can really get this done. If you're the national media and a Bills fan, you're saying they should blow the Broncos out. As objectively as I can possibly do this, I do believe the Broncos defense causes a big issue for the Bills and their offense because of what Surtain can do in taking somebody out. You can literally roll basically zone on everything else, and that front seven can eat. And if that front seven can eat, that has been proven to be a problem for Buffalo. If they can't get their run game going and Josh Allen is pressured, they don't have the receivers that can win one-on-one on a regular basis that can make up for it. And that's where the Broncos have an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. The problem for the Broncos is going to be whether or not their offense can be consistent enough to beat Buffalo's defense. And if I'm picking the game, I would err on Buffalo by a touchdown-ish in a close game, And a lot of that kind of stems to what I saw. The reason I'm going that route is because of what I saw between their common opponent in KC and what they each were able to do in those games. I think Denver's come a long way. I think Buffalo is still a little bit underrated in the grand scheme of things. And I said before the season started, everybody was talking about them having a down year. They lost a lot of pieces. I said it's not going to be an issue and they're going to run through the AFC, and they did. And I think Buffalo is just a really good team led by a really good quarterback. That quarterback is the difference in the game.
What do you think, Ron?
I see a lot of the things that you're saying about the Bills because Josh Allen, he reminds me of John Elway. Watching John Elway grow up, sometimes I see Josh Allen run around the field, and I'm like, gosh, that looks like John Elway. And I wonder why John didn't pick him up. But that was some haterade, but that's a whole different conversation. Going into this game, our defenses, Denver's defense is superior to Buffalo's, but I also see Buffalo's defense, to your point, Caleb, if our offense isn't consistent, their defense will look exactly like our defense. And in that regards, I can see Buffalo winning in a close game by 7 or less.
This one's easy for me. Buffalo's going to win. If I was a betting man, and I am, I would take Broncos in the 8.5 points.
Yeah, so then you got your touchdown there from Buffalo, and you win both ends. That makes sense.
And again, as a Broncos fan, making it into the playoffs, it's awesome. It's a good feeling.
They are
playing on.
If I had to
money.
put a timeline on it, the Broncos are 2 years ahead of where I thought they would be.
Right, they're playing on house money. I think for me, if I'm Sean Payton, I would use a lot more of the Bo Nix run game that we haven't used a lot lately. We haven't had to. I would throw that wrinkle in. We haven't used it.
I don't think this is. I understand what you're saying, but I think that would be dangerous to do against this.
Oh man, Rousseau and Von Miller, or Rousseau and
yeah, but that defense is used to be there. That defense understand what it's like to play against a mobile quarterback like that. They see Josh Allen on a daily basis, man. That might be. I'm not saying it couldn't work. I'm just saying that could be putting Bo in a really dangerous spot.
We run the quarterback run game in different ways. We do a lot more of the RPO run, and Josh Allen's like the straight up the gut run.
I get it. I get it. I'm just saying it's not. I think the key to them winning would be more Bo Nix being killer from the pocket than it would be from him on the move.
Again, if guys their defense is not as good as it's been in the past. They've got some injuries. Their secondary is not very good. There's ways that they can take advantage of that. Sean's got to call a good game. He calls some good games here and there. He calls some bad games here and there.
And more questionable than good.
Well, I mean, we've scored 30 points. Our average is 32 points in the last 9 games.
Here's the real kicker, and Pinky,
we're doing pretty good.
You and I do agree on this. They have a tendency to start. I don't even know if slow's the right word, but just confusingly in the first half, and then the second half, everything seems to click and they figure it out. They can't start slow against Buffalo.
No.
Like they cannot have a bad first half
game over.
and hope to catch back up in the second half when they figure it out finally.
Right.
So that will be interesting to see. But I think we're all kind of in agreement. Buffalo by about a touchdown-ish, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yep.
Kind of where we're leaning.
Eagles.
Packers-Eagles, I will say if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, I'm picking the Packers.
Yeah, for sure.
If Jalen Hurts does not play, I'm picking the Packers. And part of that is because I think people are forgetting what the Packers did in the playoffs last year when everybody's talking about how their defense was underperforming and it looked like trash. And then they got to the playoffs and all of a sudden everybody looked exactly like they were supposed to.
Their Jordan Love was.
Jordan Love played out of his mind. He's been a little inconsistent this year, but they could turn that switch. They've shown that they can turn that switch. And the talent on that team is insane.
Their offenses looked very, very bad.
If Kenny Two Gloves is the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles in that game, I give the edge to the Packers.
Right. Absolutely.
If Jalen Hurts plays in that game, Philly by 10.
Okay.
And I love the Packers. They've just been so inconsistent this year. I can't see how the way Philly was playing before Jalen Hurts went down, they look like the best team in the league. They looked like they had figured it out. Their offense was getting healthy. They were rolling, and that defense was finally looking scary dangerous. And part of that is because the offense was keeping them off the field. They were maintaining long drives. They were scoring points. Defense was getting a little rest, and they were able to pin their ears back and come after people like what they're built to do. Kenny Pickett is the quarterback. I don't see that happening because you lose a lot of that what-if factor that Jalen Hurts brings to you in his legs, which means the Packers can basically play the run and force Kenny Pickett to throw it. And to me, that would be a disaster for Philly if that happened.
Absolutely. Kenny Pickett is awful.
So that's a big what if. There is no lean one way or the other if Hurts is going to be cleared or not yet. It's still a very big what if.
After 2 weeks, he's still in concussion protocol.
That's concerning for
Well,
sure.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that regardless of whether Hurts plays or not, the Eagles roll. They're going to win by 10 plus.
Ooh, man. That's disrespectful.
Ooh.
Yikes.
You saw what that team did with Kenny Pickett against the Commanders a couple weeks ago, right?
I understand, but when the money's on the line, a potential MVP candidate still sits on that team and Saquon Barkley.
That game came down to the last drive that Commanders had. Like that wasn't like he just gave it up.
They put up 36 though, because Philly's offense wasn't letting that defense to do what they were able to start doing with Jalen Hurts when they were controlling the ball on the field. Kenny Pickett and the way that offense played was so much different than what Jalen Hurts was doing.
Absolutely, but they
to the
still
point where it
30
allowed
points.
the Commanders to have the ability to get more touches on the ball and score more points. So Jaden Daniels and the Commanders is a solid team right now. Good story. They are not on the same level as the Green Bay Packers, Jordan Love and LaFleur.
But Jordan Love, Christian Watts is way inconsistent.
Christian Watts is out.
You got Dobbs.
Watson's out. Dobbs, Reed,
But
Wicks,
Dobbs
Kraft.
has really been balling out he balled out 3 weeks ago. He hasn't done very much since. I think that Philly playing at home with everything to play for, especially having a bad season last year in the playoffs, I think Philly rolls and they go into the next round. 10 plus. You heard it right here first. Go back to
Kenny Pickett starting. With Kenny Pickett starting.
Regardless of who's starting.
Okay. All right.
Kenny Pickett's so bad, I might play Tanner McGee.
Damn.
That's how bad Kenny Pickett is. I'll play the third string guy, Tanner McGee.
2 minutes, 2 hours and 27 minutes. Just remember that I said that no matter who starts, Eagles by 10 plus.
We got receipts.
Pinky loves to keep a receipt or two.
Yes.
And
what's the next one?
The night game was the Bucks. Was the Bucks game the night game?
Commanders Bucks.
I like that game.
It's going to be a great game.
That game to me is a legit coin flip.
I'm still going with Baker.
I'm actually going to go Dan Quinn. I like Dan Quinn in this moment more than I like Todd Bowles. And so if I'm coin flipping and I got to give something an edge, that's where my edge comes from.
Washington's defense, Bucky Irving is the guy. That run game for the Bucks has been really damn good the last 6-7 weeks of the season. I don't think the Commanders can stop it. Bucky Irving is going to roll.
I don't hate it. I'm back on the
Bucks.
Baker bandwagon too, so we're good there. I've seen some things from the Bucks. I mean, that game last week, you had to have it, and you could barely get the Saints out of your building.
Right.
I'll give them a little bit of a pass. It is a divisional opponent, but
yeah, but I mean, Saints are pretty bad. Pretty bad.
They're
pretty
pretty
bad.
They're bad. They're not.
They're pretty bad. And that was a game you had to have to get into the playoffs. So, again, I give my edge when I think the two teams are fairly even. I start looking at other areas, and I like Dan Quinn more than I like Todd Bowles in these situations. So I will
and it's
give that
about
edge.
time. The Commanders haven't been there in a minute, and it's that's one of those things that just in the psyche of the NFL, the underdog has a way of just popping up, and the Commanders, in this regards, they are the underdog going into this game. So, the two previous games, I'm going to go with the favorite in the Eagles and the Bills. But this game, I think Commanders come out in a close game, 5 or less.
Okay. I'm really excited for that one. I think that's going to be one of the better games of the weekend overall. So, who's on Monday?
Vikings, Rams.
Vikings.
Yeah, I think
We
Yeah,
talked about a couple weeks back. I said the Rams could be the most dangerous team in the NFC side of the playoffs because of their offense. Since I said that offense has done jack shit. Vikings.
But they've won.
Let's roll.
They have won.
Yeah,
but they
I don't
haven't
care.
done much.
I don't care. I'm going with my boy Sammy. Sammy and the Vikings will get it done. I do believe that. I think they had an off day. They had their opportunities against Detroit to win that game. And Darnold missed some pretty attainable throws, a couple of them being in the end zone that he just kind of sailed. That offensive line got pressured from Detroit all day that they obviously weren't expecting to have, given Detroit's defense and all their injuries. So it almost feels like Minnesota came in a little unprepared for that game plan wise, kind of got out coached. I don't think it happens again. I love McVay, but him and O'Connell know each other very well. And so the fact that those offenses are going to basically know exactly what's going on from each other, Minnesota, I would say, has the better defense. And I would give that edge to Minnesota in that regard.
Pinky, who you got?
Man, I think I would take the Vikings. That's a really, really good team overall. The Rams are scrappy, and I just feel like this is a bad matchup for the Rams. If the Rams were playing the Commanders round one, I feel like the Rams would probably win that one. Playing the Vikings, like you're getting a 14-3 team coming to your house, like that sucks. That really sucks.
Oh, and it's not just that. They know exactly what you want to do. Like your head coach and their head coach basically call the same offense.
Well,
you know
which again, I mean? that plays into the Rams too. The Rams know what Kevin O'Connell wants to run.
They do. I'm just saying, but whose defense is better? Who's going to have more likely outcome of being able to try and stop it, right?
They have Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. That's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, that's a little. I mean,
although they have Puka and Cooper.
Cooper and Puka are good, but Puka is not JJ, and Cooper is no longer what he used to be. He's lost a step. So, and then they don't have a Hawkinson. They don't have a real third option like Detroit has with Naylor. So I think there's a slight advantage in almost every aspect when you look at it for for Minnesota. The only edge you might be able to give LA, and I don't even know if I would give it an edge based on this season, would be Stafford over Darnold, just because of experience and being there doing that kind of thing. But outside of that, their play this year, Darnold's played better.
Yeah, buddy. All right.
So for kicks and giggles, I'm gonna give the argument for the Rams. The Rams, they Kyron Williams, that dude is amazing. If they keep the ball on the ground and they're able to get a good mixture of getting the ball to Puka first and then letting Cooper get open in the wide open spots that he needs to get open in, I think that this game could be close and it comes down to a field goal and the Rams win it by a field goal at home.
I like this game. I do. I think this is going to be a really fun game as well. So, super wild card weekend. I think it's going to be a really good weekend.
For sure.
It's going to be incredible. It's going to be amazing. There are so many more things that we just glossed over and wanted to talk about, and we just don't have the time. So, Ron, always appreciate your knowledge and expertise when it comes to the wrestling.
Yes.
Always welcome back, Mr. Repeat Offender. Now you're on the list. It keeps growing, and we love that. Final thoughts from you, good sir.
Getting a chance to spend time with you guys every once in a while, it really just gets my sphincter a little tighter and gets my mouth a little bit more brighter, because being around you knowledgeable men in this place, it makes this flavor of the month taste a lot better. So thank you guys for having me.
We appreciate that, sir. Robert, final thoughts, my guy.
I'm a fantasy champion, baby.
He
That's all I have to
is.
say.
He is.
Yeah.
First year.
Woo!
Props to
I
you,
adopted
good
a
sir.
team, and I came in and showed up. It's great.
I lost in my fantasy by 0.6.
Damn.
0.6.
Way to
That's
go,
brutal.
Ron.
That's brutal. Pinky, final thoughts.
Man. Just this is the time of year, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Watch some football, spend some time with friends and family, have a good time. Win or lose if your team's in it, win or lose. It's just a game. Don't take it too serious. Have some fun.
I mean, he's correct to a point, ladies and gentlemen, but you can care a little bit. You can get a little angry. Just a little angry, maybe. So we I said earlier Friday, Saturday for college. I apologize. I meant Thursday, Friday for college this week. And then we get Saturday, Sunday, Monday for the NFL. You got basketball left and right. College men's is heating up big time. NBA starting to roll a little bit. It's just a great time of year for sports. So glad to be back. Taking those 2 weeks off it was rough, guys. We missed you. So many things to say, and we could have been a little bit better about maybe posting some things on social media and stuff, but we tell you, we preach it, we mean it. When we get those opportunities to spend that quality time with our family, friends, our loved ones, the holidays, we truly do take advantage of them. So we do check out a little bit, and we cherish those moments the same way we end every show and tell you guys to. So do not take advantage of those moments. If they come up, cherish them, jump on them, move on those opportunities to spend that quality time with your family, loved ones, friends, whoever you consider your inner circle to be. First year, like Pinky always says, check on your people. This can be a hard time of year for a lot of people going into new adventures, new ventures that they're trying to get into. Starting something, quitting something, a lot of emotions, things. Check on your people. Spend that time. If you want to say anything, hit us up. We'll be back next week with plenty more of this conversation, obviously. Until then, appreciate everybody. We're out. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of